J equals R. O. The novel is called Empress Rosalind. Its main character was attractive. She was a kind and sincere person. This is a classic romance novel with three graceful male characters. One of them is the Emperor's cousin, who is Marquis Rainier von Werner. Another of the youngest and most powerful knights of the Empire is Lord Maynard von Arnis. And another of them is the ruler of the continent and the god of battles. This is the Emperor of the Sun and the Ivern, the story of a novel featuring such ideal male heroes. It begins with a mistake by one clumsy priestess. The girl wondered how she could have made such a mistake during the purification ceremony. After all, it must be performed in silence and under strict supervision. This ceremony was performed to protect the crops and ensure a good harvest, and it's performed in complete silence. After this clumsy priestess's mistake, it's as if God Rahan is angry with them. After all that year, the empire was ravaged by drought. At the same time, the lower class of nobles was relegated to the rank of commoners. So Rosalind, who found herself in the same situation, went to the capital to earn money. With the help of a distant relative, Countess Blumberg, she became the teacher of the emperor's only brother, Duke Levi. In the imperial palace, she was loved not only by the emperor, but also by two minor characters. The plot of this book tells how Rosalind, having overcome all difficulties, becomes empress. While the young lady is wondering what about the priest who ruined the ceremony and what happened to her. Apparently, no one cared about her fate, because she was just a minor character. A little while later, the young lady wakes up and wonders where she is now, and also whether she was trying to save the cat on the roof. The girl also wonders if this is a hospital, but she understands that she feels fine. At that moment, someone opens the door to her room and says that the lady first made such a mistake and then pretended to be sick. The main character wonders what she's talking about, but the lady simply asks if Elena isn't ashamed. Elena, looking at this girl, wonders if she really has blue eyes, after which she only says that if I were a lady, she herself would never let her eat. The protagonist realizes that this girl looks like a foreigner, despite her fluent English, and her interlocutor claims that the more she thinks about what happened, the more she realizes it's all her fault. And the girl asks if this is how Elena repaid the temple that picked her up off the street, and if she's happy now. The main character wonders what she's even talking about and asks the nurse to listen, because she must have made a mistake. Well, after this, the girl just snaps back and asks what kind of nonsense this is, and also whether she has really gone crazy. The brunette also claims that she can't even leave her, even though the girl ruined the ceremony. So starting tomorrow, she'll beg God for forgiveness. After the girl leaves, the main character wonders what's going on there, because she doesn't understand anything. And is it really possible to yell at a sick person like that, after which the young lady screams at her sister and asks if there is anyone there? The young lady then thinks that it must all be a dream, and that she even dreamed of the kitten running onto the roof. And when she wakes up, everything will definitely return to normal. The next morning, the young lady wakes up to the fact that someone is her calls. After she opens her eyes, she wonders if there is a red-haired foreigner there now. The young lady wonders if she's still dreaming, then claims that it's not her name. She also thinks she might just look like this Elena. He also claims that the lady was probably mistaken, but she asks if it's true that the girl doesn't remember anything, not even her own name. The main character shakes her head and then asks what her interlocutor's name is. She replies that her name is Marie, after which she asks if it is true that they want to kick the girl out of the temple. She also asks her friend to wait a little and then brings her a mirror. And he asks if Elena remembered anything. The main character is then shocked and thinks that this can't be true. And now she is a foreigner with silver hair and brown eyes. So the lady wonders if this is really a dream. The girl with red hair says that her interlocutor is behaving strangely even during the ceremony itself. And the main character thinks about what she's talking about and then asks Marie to say it again. And he grabs her by the shoulders, after which the girl screams that it hurts and asks if she did something wrong. The main character simply asks her to tell her more. Marie asks what exactly, after which he claims that the girl's name is Elena and that she spilled wine at a purification ceremony, thereby depriving all the inhabitants of their harvest. The main character remembers the purification ceremony and wonders if this is the world of the novel she recently read. Well, the girl also understands that she is not the main character and not the rich girl Alyosha created for the ceremony. After which, the young lady completely loses consciousness, realizing that she is an awkward student who is also a minor character. A little while later, Elena realizes that she shouldn't read novels indiscriminately, especially romance novels. But she definitely hadn't read that book. A year later, the girl had already gotten used to life in this world. Her name is Elena, now life. After her character ruined, everything wasn't very fun. After all, everyone treated her terribly, even though it wasn't her fault. The other two priestesses were whispering among themselves at this time. After which, one of them turns to the main character and tells her to catch this thing. And then he throws a rag at the young lady and apologizes, and also says that he slightly miscalculated the strength, but let her wash this too, to which Elena agrees. One of the sacred ones then turns to the other and asks if she has gone too far, but she replies that it's okay because this girl is an ordinary commoner, and she was excluded from the middle class, and it was her own fault. The young lady understands that all the household responsibilities were saddled on her, and now she's practically crying, asking why everything is like this. She didn't want to be Elena. The girl was demoted from a middle-class priest to a lower-class one, and then she experienced all sorts of hardships. The priests of the upper and middle classes were considered nobles under the Pope, and all those who belonged to the lower class. They were commoners, but the girl then thinks about an ordinary orphan from the common people. She managed to become a middle-class priest. At this time, someone approaches the young lady, after which he says he searched her all over, the girl, then starts to get up, but the man says she shouldn't get up. After which she points to one of the priests and claims that her power will be needed there. The guy then asks for forgiveness and shows his leg. The young lady also apologizes and says that her hands are still wet, after which she examines the wound, and when she presses, the guy claims that it hurts there. The young lady then wonders why they needed the help of a low-ranking priest. But since this is an order, nothing can be done, and the girl thinks, where has it ever been seen that a commoner touches the body of a nobleman? The guy, when he looks at the young lady, is a little surprised, and the girl thinks that healing is not within the power of commoners. And all this thanks to divine power, after which the girl heals the boy's leg. The priest asks him if everything is all right, to which he replies that, yes, that lump is gone. The main character says that you shouldn't swing your leg like that, but the guy doesn't listen to her, and after a few movements, he stops altogether. He also claims that he thinks he's twisted his ankle again. The girl understands that earlier she thought that the village would help her, but she turned out to be too weak, the priest claims at this time, that he did not expect anything else from the power of the sinner, and let her be grateful that he cannot take away her blessing. The young lady then thinks that he could have examined his student himself, and why was it necessary to make her look like an idiot? Elena asks for forgiveness at this point and leaves, and also understands that she can't do this anymore. A short time later, the girl throws down the bucket and wonders how much longer she can go on. And also, does she really have to live like this for the rest of her life? But the lady understands that she won't let this go. Well, the family isn't expecting this girl at home, and I have no money to live on. All Elena has is the pendant she was wearing from the start. She thinks she could make a good profit from it, but she can't do that. For some reason, it seems very important to her. The girl also wonders what this necklace meant to Elena, after which she claims that it's time for her to stop thinking about all sorts of nonsense. She needs to finish cleaning. Well then, the lady suddenly hears someone's voice, and looking in his direction, wonders if anyone uses this room. After which, the girl comes closer, and one of the priests asks what this all means. After all, he doesn't understand His Majesty's thoughts at all. The other replies that he agrees, and who does he take them for? This is unacceptable, because how could he find a new teacher for this picky Duke Levy? The main character realizes that if she remembers correctly, it was Rosaline who became his teacher in the novel, after which the girl thinks that she has an idea, and Rosalind became Duke Levi's teacher. A year after the incident that is now. At this time, one of them asks, "What about Father Genevieve?" Well, his colleague replies that he is retired, even though he was offered a large sum for it. At this time, the main character thinks that, according to the plot, the priests were soon fired, and maybe if she becomes a teacher. Then everything changes after the girl enters the room. One of the men asks who she is, after which the young lady apologizes for interrupting their conversation and claims that she is Elena, and also a low-class priestess. The girl is confident that if she gets to the imperial palace, all this suffering will end. A little while later, The maid claims that this room was allocated especially for the lady, and the girl understands that in terms of luxury, the imperial palace is at an unattainable level. The rooms in the temple are incomparable, and the young lady wonders if she could really get in there. Elena claims that it seems her things were left downstairs, after which the maid claims that she will bring them right away. Well, the young lady replies that there is no need, because she will go herself, after which the maid is surprised and asks if there are things there that she is not allowed to touch. Elena replies that no, and why should she run back and forth? But the girl claims that this is her job, after which the main character becomes embarrassed, but understands that the main thing is to remain calm because she has never been treated like that. The maid at this time says that, as expected, the followers of Mr. Rahan's teachings are completely different because they even worry about commoners. Elena says that yes, status is not the most important thing, after which the maid says that the lady is so beautiful. The maid also insists that she'll go get her things, so let the lady rest. The main character then wants to say something else, but she realizes the maid has already left, and so quickly. But in any case, she's glad it all worked out this way. After all, being a commoner is terrible. A little while later, the girl goes out onto the balcony and realizes that even the air in the palace is completely different, and she will never return to the temple and will survive there no matter what. A month ago, she apologized for interrupting the conversation and introduced herself. One of the priests claimed it was the first time he'd seen the girl. The main character wonders if they are serious and that they were the ones who accused her in the past, although it's for the best, because she won't have to stay there anymore. The girl claims that she thinks about her remembering what happened at the purification ceremony last year. It was she who spilled the wine, and for this, she was demoted to the lowest rank of the priesthood. One of the men says it was her, and that the girl was a commoner, but thanks to her healing abilities, she was able to become a middle-class saint. Elna replies that everything is correct, after which the man asks if she was the holiest of the middle class, and if all the paperwork is in order, she'll have no problem getting into the imperial palace. Elena understands that this man is the highest-ranking nobleman among the cardinals and number 2 in the Rahan church. His name is Cardinal Geoffrey. The man claims he believes Duke Levi will not refuse the girl and that this will be her opportunity to atone for her sin. This is how the young lady got into the imperial palace, but it was not so easy because she had to learn etiquette. Now the young lady realizes she can't tolerate this kind of treatment any longer, so she should stop clinging to this position. At this point, the maid informs her mistress that she has brought her things, after which the main character says fine, and let her bring them in too. The blonde lady claims she heard there'll be another teacher, and the maid asks if she is talking about Baron Francis's daughter, because she will arrive this evening. The main character then realizes that Rosalind will really be there, and also that she will really be able to see her, which is why the girl thought that this was the best day. But she also understands that it is too early to relax, because she must use all her knowledge to stay there. Her first concern should be Duke Levi, the emperor's only brother, and the owner of the Palace of Dawn. He kicked out his priest teacher after a few days and refused to teach theology and also interfered with the lessons. The lines between heaven and earth, only I am worthy of everything, describe it well. None of the teachers stayed long until Rosalind was assigned the job. Then the boy began to slowly open his heart. However, later, there was an assassination attempt, and the Duke began to fear swords, and this became a major problem. The blonde lady then claimed that the guy needed to face his fears to overcome them, and suggested going outside together. The young man insisted he wasn't ready yet. The problem was, he was facing the emperor himself. Even his own brother frightened him. Because of this, the relationship between Rosalind and Duke Levi deteriorated. Even worse with the emperor. That's when Rosalind became close to His Majesty. But unlike in the novel, Elena became Duke Levi's tutor, and the girl wonders if this will change anything. Well, there's no point in pressuring the Duke. After all, even if this happens, it will still be good, because the main character is Rosalind, and she is only a secondary character, so her life should be accordingly. But then the young lady looks around and thinks where she is now. The girl understands that she was just walking wherever her eyes looked, but she didn't think that she would go so far. And she also understands that it will take her a long time to get to the palace. The lady then sits down and states that she has no important business today, so she can rest. But at that very moment, she hears someone screaming to get everyone's attention. The girl is then surprised and wonders what is going on there and who the servants are meeting there. Looking at the clothes, the girl understands that this man is apparently from the upper class. But then she looks closer and wonders if this is really the emperor. The girl also thinks that he can meet the main character in such a place. After all, he is the main male character in the novel. He was kind and polite to Rosalind, but at the beginning of his reign, he was considered a true monster for conquering 3 states neighboring the Ypern Empire. The girl now understands that he is a real war hero, and maybe it's good that she didn't become the main character, because he really is a terrible person. But the young lady also doesn't think that they will meet him again, because she is a minor character, and no one even knows her name. A little while later, someone approaches His Majesty and claims that he was waiting for him. The emperor then asks Maynard if he has any news, to which the guy replies that Marquis Werner has arrived to discuss some issues with him. The man then asks if Rainier has arrived, to which the knight replies that yes, he is waiting for His Majesty in the living room on the 2nd floor. The butler asks if he should make tea, but the brunette replies no, and instead, let him bring them a drink. The butler then asks if he should really bring alcohol, and then dejects himself and claims to understand His Majesty. The knight then turns to the master and asks if he should really drink such a strong drink immediately after dinner. But the man says there is no need to worry so much, because he will not fall into eternal sleep after a few glasses. After which, he goes into the Marquis's room, and he claims that His Majesty has been waiting for him for too long. But he already thought that he had lost his head there. He also greets His Majesty, but the brunette passes by him and asks what the guy wanted to talk about. After this, the blonde asks if this is how one greets a cousin after a long separation, after which he claims he wanted to talk about the aristocratic gathering. The emperor asks what the matter is, after which the young man claims they were all very patriotic. This time, they were concerned about his personal life, and they were wondering when His Majesty would find himself an empress. The brunette says what nonsense this is, after which he asserts that the guy can go. But he is only interested in whether his interlocutor thinks that it is time to think about this, because it would help resolve many conflicts. There are rumors about them that they are lovers, and this is problematic. The emperor then points out that the blonde man is also from the imperial family, meaning the question applies to him as well. But the Marquis wonders if these rumors really don't bother him at all, after which he claims that he is only His Majesty's cousin, and his love was too great to waste on just one girl. He also heard that His Majesty had trained with the captain of the knightly squad today. Then he asks how he's doing, and the brunette replies, "As usual." At this point, the butler realizes the war had lasted 3 years, the goal of which was to strengthen the empire's unstable position. It ended 5 years ago, and although they have strengthened their position, but because of this, His Majesty completely stopped caring about himself. And it seems to him that, Lord, we can find a person to whom he can open his heart. At this time, the man turns to the butler and asks if he has already found a new teacher, to which he replies that yes, they should arrive today. She is Baron Francis's daughter, recommended by Countess Bloomberg. She will be responsible for general education, and theology will be taught by a priestess sent from the Rahan temple. The blonde then asks if they've already found teachers for the little one, and he thought no one else would come to him. The butler then asks His Majesty if he would like to meet the new teachers. The main character at this time remembers how the priest said that no one would think that a middle-class priest was a commoner, so she should not do anything suspicious, and then everything will be fine. And he also stated that you can't put a cup of tea like that, after which he screamed for her to repeat. Now the young lady is waking up from this nightmare, and she thinks, what is this? After all, she suffered so much before arriving there, not in order to then see this man in nightmares. She really wanted to at least get some decent sleep there. Although compared to working at the temple, it was just a piece of cake. Well, when the main character looks out the window, she sees a carriage and thinks that it has a coat of arms with a lily on the shield and that it belongs to the Bloomberg family. The girl understands that when the carriage arrived at the Palace of Dawn, Rosalind got out of it and exclaimed in surprise, "What a beautiful garden there is!" So now the young lady understands that this is the heroine's arrival, just as at the beginning of the novel. She has a smooth nose and round eyes. As befits the main character, she is incredibly beautiful. At this point, the blonde turns to the young lady and apologizes, asking who she is. The girl realizes she's been so engrossed in her gaze that she's completely forgotten herself, after which she realizes that she just needs to calm down and do what she was taught. And then the girl introduces herself and claims that she will teach Duke Levi theology. The blonde then also introduces herself and claims that she is responsible for Duke Levi's general education. Elena understands that of course she knows this girl well because she even has such a sweet voice. After which the young lady says, "Yes, it's nice to meet you too." Rosalind then asks the girl where she's from. Elena replies that she came from the temple, but the blonde insists that this is not what she meant. But when she is about to say something else, someone turns to Miss Frances and claims that he took out all the things and offers to go to her room. The girl then says that she needs to go and suggests talking next time. The main character agrees, but wonders if she really came to the palace. And she might even be able to work with the main character. If things continue like this, will they be able to become friends? At the beginning of the novel, the young lady's name was not revealed because she was only a minor character, and leaving the temple was a good idea. So it seemed to her, but a little while later, the lady with the blonde hair claims that she thought she imagined it. But now she is sure that the girl is an ordinary commoner. Elna wonders what is going on there. 30 minutes ago, in the palace drawing room, the blonde lady said this tea had a sweet aroma, mingled with basilisk. She also asked if this was the lady's favorite tea, to which the main character, a little excited, replied that yes, and it had a pleasant aroma. Elena realizes that she is staring at her again, but even the main character's incredulous face looks cute. At this time, the blonde tells the priestess that she is interested in something, and the young lady asks what it is. After which, the girl claims that yesterday she was not able to really ask her, but from what family is the Lady Elena? After this, the main character becomes a little sad and realizes that she asked this yesterday too. After which, she wonders if the lady is really that interested. Elena thinks that she certainly understood that one day she would have to answer this question, and the blonde at this time says that the two of them will train the Duke. So isn't it natural to get to know each other better? Elena wonders what kind of pressure this is, and the blonde claims that then she will begin, and claims that the Baron's family is located in the southwestern part of the empire. She is his eldest daughter, after which Rosalind says that now it is the lady's turn, Elena. The lady with the blonde hair then claims that, as she already said, she is the holiest of the middle class who came from the temple, and she's honored to meet Miss Frances. The girl realizes she's heard that status plays a big role among priests, but she is also a priestess, so let the lady just listen to her. At this time, Rosalind claims that it seems she has begun to understand, and the main character wonders if she really succeeded. After which, the blonde claims that at first, she was worried that she would be there alone. That's why she was delighted by the news that they were the same age. Elena replies that she is also happy to work with Miss Rosalind. And after this, the blonde says that only a priest should be from an honorable family. And who does she see now? It's a commoner who isn't even trained in etiquette. Elena is surprised by this and understands that her interlocutor senses hostility in her words. And she doesn't even try to hide her hostility, but the girl thinks why this is so. After which, his cup keeps slipping from the young lady's hands, and breaking Rosalind then rises from her seat and says, "What the hell is going on?" After all, she thought she was imagining things, but now she is sure that the girl is an ordinary commoner. She was immediately embarrassed by the position of the cup in the young lady's hand, so she couldn't even look at it, and let the girl pick up the broken cup from the town hall herself. She is a commoner. Elena understands that, as soon as the blonde learned about her origin, her attitude towards her immediately changed, and the girl wonders if Rosaline was really like that in the novel. Well, if you recall the plot, the story was told from the protagonist's perspective, and nothing was said about commoners. But the girl's house was suddenly only verbally part of the aristocracy. They couldn't even pay the taxes on their lands, and the main character wonders if that's why she hates commoners. Rosalind at this time claims that she is against this, and asks if a commoner can teach a duke. The main character thinks that if everyone finds out about this, it will be very bad. After which she immediately grabs the lady with blonde hair by the hand. And she asks not to do this, but Rosalind only says that this abomination should let her go. The young lady then asks the lady not to do this, as she will do whatever she asks. The girl also understands that she cannot return to the temple. At this time, the blonde asks if she will do anything, and she answers that yes, and she will do everything in her power. After which, Rosalind says that fine, and since the girl is ready to go that far, she will turn a blind eye to it. But there is one problem. After all, their relationship is that of a boss and a subordinate. To hide her origins, she needs to treat the girl as an equal. But she won't tolerate this, and the main character wonders if this means that now she will have to serve Rosalind. Elena claims that then she can help with cleaning and everything else. The blonde then says that the girl is a quick learner and that she shouldn't forget about washing and sewing. Elena replies that she understands, after which the blonde says that she was sent away, and they will have a mutually beneficial cooperation. Elena thinks that although this is better than working in the temple, it's still the same. At that moment, a maid knocks on the door and apologizes, after which he announces that the Duke has arrived. The blonde then whispers to the girl to stop sitting and stand up. The young lady realizes that she is acting as if nothing happened, but she still won't say that she acted so arrogantly recently. And now the girl understands what kind of person Rosalind was, because now she will have to serve her. The young lady also thinks it is normal that a person with such a character will find happiness. And did the book's characters know her true nature? The girl also wonders if this is connected to her strained relationship with Duke Levi. At this moment, someone tells the girl to get out of the way. It turns out to be the Duke. He asks if the lady doesn't hear, because he told her to leave, after which everyone is wondering if the girl really wants to disobey him. After this, the main character wonders if this cute boy is really the Duke of Levi. The guy then asks again if she wants him, and if she obeys, she will step on the shards. The young lady looks down at her feet and realizes that she really did almost cut herself. At this time, the blonde asks what she would do if she got hurt, after which the young lady asks her to forgive her. When the maid finishes cleaning, the boy says that if she's finished, she can go. He also addresses Elena, asking how long she plans to stand there, answers that she will sit down right now. The girl sits down next to the main character and understands that this boy doesn't mince his words, after which she looks at the lady sitting next to her and realizes that she quickly got into character. The guy then turns to the two and asks if they are his new teachers. The young lady looking at him understands that she doesn't want to admit it, but he is too cute, after which the guy says that it's clear and let them try and turns away. The main character looking at him thinks maybe the guy wants to eat cake. He's trying to act grown up, but in reality, he's such a child. Well, when the guy is already reaching for the cake, the blonde turns to him and says that if the gentleman doesn't mind, then maybe they can discuss the lesson plan. She heard that he was taught mathematics history and theology, and such a passion for learning makes her admire him. But to assess his level of knowledge, he'd be willing to. But after that, the guy says no, after which the main character is surprised, and the young lady is too. And the guy claims that they will do such things themselves. In the past, teachers had to leave a class diary. Rosalind then says that she understood the master, and Elena understands that the boy immediately put the main character in her place. After which the guy also turns to Elena, asks what about her, and if she also wants to test his knowledge before class. The girl then simply suggests they have something sweet while the tea is still warm, and continue their conversation later. The girl claims that one should not delay eating food that contains the blessing of Mr. Rahan, after which the blonde says that this is not a bad idea and asks how the girl is going to teach him. Elena replies that she will not say that she has a clear plan, because the basis of theology lies in understanding the teachings of the great Rahan. Therefore, instead of memorizing it, she suggests reading and discussing sacred letters. And the girl wonders what the Duke thinks about this. The blonde watching this wonders if the girl really thinks it's that simple. But the Duke then agrees and also says that it sounds good, so they will do it. Rosaline, watching the young lady, only became angry, and a little while later, she gave her a list of books. She claims that the girl should take these books from the library, but the young lady asks why so soon. Rosalind asks the girl if she didn't promise to help her, but Elena says there are so many of them. The blonde claims that she will be busy preparing for classes, so she will not have time for this. Elena thinks that this girl just arrived and is already giving orders, and wondering if this is really some kind of revenge. After this, the blonde says that the girl is not going to refuse her, because she doesn't even need to make a lesson plan. And if she understands, then let her go and bring all these books right now. A little while later, the girl is already heading out in a carriage, After which she goes out and hopes to quickly find all these books. That's what the young lady thought. But this library? It turned out to be more than she thought, and Elena understands that she will sooner plunge into eternal sleep than find all these books. Then the young lady also turns to one of the workers and says that she needs help. The guy claims that she probably had a hard time, and if the lady tells him the name of the book, he will tell her where to find the book, after which the main character thanks him. And the guy tells her to wait there, and the young lady understands that she will at least be able to catch her breath. The girl also understands that Rosalind did meet one of the main male characters in the library, but she doesn't remember who exactly. At that moment, a library employee approaches the lady. He apologizes for keeping her waiting, but says that it says where to find the books, after which the main character thanks him. However, the guy claims that all the carts are currently occupied, so she will have to carry them herself. Elena sighs after this and thinks that everything couldn't have been so simple, but she just needs to carry them to the carriage, after which the girl begins to collect books. But when she approaches the next one, she understands that it is too high and will be difficult to reach, but the main character still does not give up and tries to reach it. At this point, someone else approaches the young lady and asks if he can help her. The girl replies, "Yes, if it's not too much trouble." Well, when he turns around, he realizes that this man has a knight's sign with the coat of arms of the empire. But only one knight could have come to the library at this time. He has brown hair and green eyes, which completely knocks the girl off balance. While the guy picks her up and asks if the girl is okay, Elena understands that this is Lord Maynard Arnes. A little while later, the young lady heads to the carriage and says that the gentleman should not have helped her like that. The guy then asks the lady what she is talking about, because it is an honor for him to help the mistress. Elena understands that he is shining so much that she can't even look at him because it's too bright, and the girl wonders how she ended up in the same carriage with one of the main characters. An hour ago, the guy grabbed her and asked if the girl was okay, after which she only became embarrassed. She addressed him as Maynard, but then realized that was his name and addressed him more formally, saying it was his hand, after which he himself became embarrassed and asked for forgiveness. He just thought the book might fall. The girl replied that everything was fine, after which the guy asked how she knew him since she had called him by name. Elena claimed that she had simply heard a lot about him because the Lord was so popular. The guy then asked if it was true about the young lady, who thought that it seemed like he didn't realize the extent of his popularity. She also claims that she remembered his name that way. The guy then picks up the book from the floor and says, "Okay, I understand." Well, it's a little embarrassing, and to be honest, he was also looking at the lady. The young lady then asks what he's talking about, and he wonders if Maynard was looking at her, but the girl wonders why. After which the young man says that she was simply running around the library so briskly. Elena realizes she's just a supporting character, and then the guy turns to the lady. He says that if she doesn't mind, they can look for her books together. The young lady thanks him for his concern, but insists she's already found everything. After which the guy says that it only remains to carry them to the carriage, to which the girl replies that everything is correct. The guy picks up a stack of books and says he'll take care of it. The young lady then turns to him concerned, but the young man insists that everything is fine because it is time for him to return. He also asks the girl to give him the book from her hands. Well, she replies that she doesn't, and she gives it to him herself will carry. After which the young lady heads to the carriage and thinks why this guy is so kind. The young man turns to their mistress with a little surprise and cries out, asking her not to follow her. And the knight wonders how he will then carry the books, and the lady is a funny person. The girl also realizes that the carriage she was supposed to return in has somehow disappeared. So the knight helped her out for the second time, so the girl wonders if it's okay for her to be involved in the plot's events. And she's traveling with Maynard. The girl understands that the sword of the Empire, as well as the great lord of the South, is Count Arnes. As soon as his eldest son came of age, he was given an order to wage a war of conquest, that he must take upon himself all the balls and arrows directed against his majesty. The guy fulfilled it and was able to return alive, and he is also not such a kind and gentle person as he might seem. At this point, the young man with a smile on his face asks if there is something on his face, and the girl replies that there is not. After which, the guy also asks the lady if she is going to read all these books, because it will not be easy. Elena replies that they are not for her, and that they are for classes with Duke Levi, After which the guy asks the lady if she is really the new teacher. The girl replies that it's not that great, because she's only responsible for theology. But the guy says that she is still a teacher, after which the young lady smiles. But then the girl suddenly sees a wound on the guy's finger and pays attention to it. The knight says that he must have hurt his hand when he was getting the books. But the young lady at the same time thinks that such beautiful hands need to be protected, and it is all her fault. After which she tells him to give it to her. He asks what she is talking about because everything is fine. When the young lady looks at him resolutely, he finally offers his hand. After which the girl begins to use healing magic and claims that this is the only thing she can help with. But the knight claims that the girl surprised him because he thought that only the high priesthood had healing powers. Elena replies that everything is not so simple and that she can heal such a small wound. The girl realizes that she has only just healed the wound, but her head already hurts, after which the guy asks if she is okay. A short time later, they arrive at the Duke's mansion, and the knight claims he could have carried the books. But the girl replies that it's okay, everything is fine, and she'll call the servants. She also tells the Lord to take care of himself well. When the girl is about to leave, the guy apologizes. But he asks if the lady could tell him her name. The girl then turns around and asks what he's talking about, and the guy claims that he might need her healing skills again. The young lady then says that her name is Elena, and the young man with a smile on his face offered to the lady Elena E. Meet again, the girl realizes that even though they crossed paths by chance, Maynard is the main character. She is a secondary character, so the girl wonders if they will meet again. A little while later, the young lady thinks that then he will definitely meet Rosaline. If she hasn't been fired by then, of course. The young lady realizes that today was supposed to be her first lesson with the Duke, but he still didn't come, and the girl wonders if he really decided to boycott her. But this will become a problem. Elena understands that the more she thinks about it, the more it hurts her pride. And after all, he had a lesson with Rosalind 2 hours ago. But he skips her classes, and it seems he is only interested in the main character. Although he liked the idea of the cake, at this moment, the maid approaches the mistress, and she says she has a message for her. It turns out to be Duke Levi's nanny, named Elia. The main character then asks what happened, after which the woman claims that the Duke has a severe headache and will not be able to attend the lesson. Elena says that's how it is, but realizes that's what she thought. After which the girl claims that she's so worried about the gentleman, and he asks if they can go and visit him, after which the woman says that it's not worth it. He really is in a very bad way. The main character understands that he's clearly pretending, after which he rises from his seat and says, "Fine," and then they'll reschedule today's lessons for next time. The woman apologizes and tells the lady to be careful on the way home. Elena wonders what she'll do if he doesn't show up tomorrow. Well, the young lady realizes she'll still be getting paid anyway, and it turns out it's free money, so she thinks it'll do. A few days later, the Duke didn't show up again, and the main character thinks what a problem child he is. But in this situation, she only feels sorry for Ilya. The maid comes to the master every day, but he insists that he will not go. But the young lady thinks that just remembering the novel, she can understand him. The previous priests used some Spartan methods, and the young lady wonders whether it was worth torturing the poor child like that, because for such a sensitive child, it was probably too much. The maid thinks that the poor lady has been waiting for her master for so many days, and she hopes that he will finally come to his senses. But the main character, meanwhile, thinks, okay, let him pass. A little while later, the maid comes to see the master, and he says that the priestess came to him today, too. The guy says she's persistent, and he thought she'd long since vanished without a trace. Then the nanny turns to the gentleman and asks when he plans to attend classes, but the boy insists he won't be going. The guy closes his book and tells the nanny to listen, because all these holy scriptures are written in some incomprehensible language, and he should ask questions to understand everything. But all his past teachers, they simply looked at him like he was a fool, and the guy wondered what he would learn from those who didn't even want to teach him. It's just a waste of time. But the maid says that if the gentleman doesn't attend classes, he might be severely scolded. The guy then asks who will scold him, to which the woman replies, the emperor. But the young man just turns around and says that he doesn't have time for this, after which the nanny tells the gentleman that everything is wrong. And he's afraid of his majesty after all. The boy also recalls all the rumors circulating about him. One of the maids asked if the Duke was always in the palace, and the other replied that nothing could be done since he couldn't even meet with His Majesty. He can't leave the palace, and what a poor thing he is, so now the boy just screams for the nanny to leave him alone, and he wonders if she dares to contradict him. The Duke also says that he is hungry, so let her bring him cake. When a woman wants to object, the guy just yells at her to keep quiet. And she didn't tell him, after which the nanny leaves. And when she walks down the corridor, she hears one of the maids asking if she heard anything, the lighting. And she sat alone again. And it seems the gentleman didn't like her, after which the nanny interrupts them and tells the girls to bring the Duke a cake. They immediately agree, and the woman understands that the Duke is not the only one to blame for this. He survived being put into eternal sleep by his parents as a child, and then an assassination attempt. But she still asks the Duke not to forget that His Majesty always thinks about him. A little while later, someone addresses the lady. Helen says she has guests. The young lady asks who it is, and then someone asks if she is the Duke's theology teacher. The girl replies that yes, after which she looks at his clothes and wonders if he really came from the temple. At this time, the man tells the girl to get dressed right now because His Holiness is waiting her. And the young lady thinks that the Holy Father has come and that she is already being fired. The Holy Father of the Rahan Church, the only one on the entire continent. It preaches the main religion, so the girl wonders why such an important person would want to meet with her. And she was so surprised that she immediately ran to get ready. The girl also understands that the situation is clearly not good, but she thinks that it seems that rumors about her difficulties have reached the temple. Firstly, her origins were immediately discovered, and secondly, no one even attends her classes, so the young lady wonders if everything will be all right. Her interlocutor then insists that they will soon arrive at the imperial temple, so the girl should show respect to His Holiness when she meets him. She agrees to something, but wonders if she should run away right now. A little while later, the young lady is already in the temple and thinks that he looks the part. At this time, the cardinal cries out what the girl is allowing herself to do since His Holiness is in front of her. Well then, the other man tells Geoffrey not to be so strict because he has already said this more than once, but he is always so rude. The guy claims that he will take this into account, and the main character realizes that she did not think that the cardinal could be so obedient. After which the girl wonders if this is the Holy Father. The man then asks the young lady's name Elena, and he were waiting for her. The main character then says that he is the prophet of the great Rahan, and the man invites her not to be shy and to come closer. Elena understands that despite his situation, he seems quite kind. While the girl still doesn't understand why he needs her, the man then claims that he heard Elena has healing magic, while the young lady replies that her strength is not that impressive, after which the priest claims that, to be honest, he recently hurt his hand while leafing through a book, and he asks the girl if she could heal. Her Elena asks if he wants her to heal his hand, to which he replies yes, and asks if it is difficult for a lady. The girl then thinks about what to do and whether she can heal his hand. But she has tried more than once to heal her hands, which are rough from hard work. Well, she's never been able to do it. So she asks her father to forgive her because she's afraid it's too much for her. The girl wonders how she can help him if she can't cure herself. But the man then notices that the young lady's hand is also early, so let her show him. The girl does so, after which the man tells her to watch carefully and use her powers. The young lady then looks at her hands and is shocked because they have become so clean, and it is as if she has new hands. Elena asks why he doesn't heal his wound himself, and the man claims that this is the teaching of the great Rahan. You can't heal your own wounds with holy power, because after all, a person cannot live without the help of others. The main character thinks that's it, like it wasn't her strength that was the problem. After all, even if she's not that strong, she's still useful. The high priest at this time turns to Elena, asks if she could heal his hand, to which the girl agrees and states that she will try. Elena thinks that if there is even the slightest chance, she is ready to put all her efforts into it, after which she takes His Holiness's hand. The man realizes that he heard she only recently developed her abilities. Well, this girl is really amazing. When the young lady finishes, the man thanks her, and he claims that the great Rahan has blessed her with great power. The protagonist then says that she should thank His Holiness for the explanation. She also thinks that otherwise she would have to reproach herself for her strength for a long time. The man then claims that he is always there, so that the lady can come occasionally and practice using her powers. But Elena claims that the Duke still does not attend her theology classes, and if this continues, she might even be fired, after which the man only smiles and says that the lady should try to show him her pure intentions, because perhaps this will change his perception. Let the lady also not be discouraged and try to do everything possible. The girl realizes that for the first time, someone believes in her, and before everyone treated her terribly, after which the girl understands that she simply has to live up to his expectations. And he claims he will try. When the young lady leaves, the priest asks what Geoffrey will say about her. The cardinal says that she is a girl like any other, but the high priest asks if he really thinks so. The man claims that he has nothing more to add now, and the high priest claims that he did say that the girl was an orphan. So let him find out more about her, because for some reason she interested him. A little while later, the butler asks the lady if the Duke is still skipping his theology classes, to which she replies that unfortunately, he is bite, but the man claims that the main character understands this problem, that if the Chamberlain doesn't like it, then this holy commoner will definitely be kicked out, and it was unpleasant to watch how she was resting there, so it's for the best. The man then asks Miss Frances if she really just left it that way. After all, the diary says nothing about any measures being taken on her part, and she's responsible for the Duke's general education. The girl then wonders what's wrong with the butler and what she did wrong. The man says that in this case, he is forced to reprimand her, but the girl claims that there were no problems with the other items, and he attended her classes with great zeal. But after that, the man only says that it is enough. He also understood the situation, and with that, the lady can go free. The blonde wonders how dare he treat her like that, and how did he even have the courage to do this? After all, no one had ever hated her before. Everyone always wanted to be closer to her. At this point, the butler turns to Lady Frances, and the girl turns to him and also thinks that it's true because they can't treat her like that. But the man only asks the lady not to call him by his name anymore, and also not to forget about their situation. Rosalind claims that she will be careful about calling him by his last name after that. And when the man closes the door, the young lady understands that it is all the fault of that holy woman, because how could she come there as a commoner, and how dare she humiliate her like that? At this time, the blonde man sits with the emperor and asks if the Duke continues to refuse classes. But he even feels sorry for this teacher, and he would like to take a look at her once. At this time, the knight says that he did see her, and the blonde asks how it all went. The guy replies that she's very cute and so small. Then the blonde asks if that's all. After all, if the girl's description is true, she resembles a rabbit. The knight says the resemblance is true. He also remembers the young lady's hands and realizes they too are small. The Marquis wonders if Maynard is showing any interest in the girl, and this is already interesting, after which he turns to His Majesty and asks what he is going to do with this most sacred thing. The man replies that he will watch for now, but if the Duke continues to skip classes, then he'll have to find a new teacher. Then the brunette gets up from his seat and says he has to go to training, so he'll go. The Marquis says he doesn't miss a day, and it's amazing. After which, she asks if he is tired of doing the same thing every day, but the man says that it doesn't matter, and understands that maybe for someone it's boring, but he can't think about anything else. At this time, the main character goes with a basket of laundry and says how much she needs to wash. The girl also asks if there was a meeting with the Chamberlain today, 30 minutes ago. The blonde burst into her room, after which she told the girl to wash it right away, and not even think about refusing. The main character understands that she doesn't know what happened there, but it's clearly something serious. After which, she thinks that the girl simply decided to take out all her anger on her, but it doesn't look like she was being bullied. The young lady thinks she needs to find someplace secluded, and perhaps finds it odd that a middle-class priest does her own laundry. But when the young lady goes further, she sees someone and wonders what the person is doing there. This guy has always moved forward and doesn't think about rest and boredom at all, and maybe that's why he was able to achieve such results. The guy doesn't know what else to do and just spends his days aimlessly, after which he strikes the stone again, causing the sword to break. At that very moment, the man hears someone scream. He turns around and asks who is there, after which the young lady apologizes, and she says she almost fell into an eternal sleep. The girl claims that such training is very dangerous, after which he approaches the brunette and asks if he has anything he wants to say to the man who was almost put into eternal sleep. The brunette then asks who she is, And the young lady replies that she is the holiest of the middle class, and her name is Elena. The girl then wonders what's wrong with him and whether he's being too rude to the man he almost killed. At this time, the guy asks how she got there, and if she knows what this place is, after which the young lady claims that she was just going to wash her clothes and asks where they are. The guy claims that they are in the inner garden, and the young lady wonders if this is the place where the members of the imperial family live. The girl also screams that she thought that there was no one there. But what if the ruthless emperor finds out about this? They will definitely be beheaded. At this moment, the merciless emperor stands before her, insulted to his face. But the young lady only asks what to do, because she thought that this was the Palace of Dawn. The brunette asks if she is from there, to which the young lady replies that yes, and she teaches there. The man understands that if she is a middle-class teacher and priest from the Palace of Dawn, then she must be Elena's. After which the guy asks if she teaches theology to the Duke, to which the girl replies that yes, well, she wants to ask how he knows. However, when she looks at his hands, she realizes that they are wounded, or wonders if he has hurt his hand. The man replies that everything is fine, and there is nothing serious there, and the young lady understands that even though he was just training, he has so many scars on his arms. He is not wearing a knight's uniform, so he may be a student, after which the girl tells him to give her his hand. The brunette asks what she is doing, but the young lady thinks that even though she is annoying, she cannot break the promises made to His Holiness. Therefore, the girl asks not to worry and begins to use holy power. The emperor, looking at the young lady, wonders if this is a holy power like that of his high priesthood. At this point, the girl sighs and says that she is finished, and then sits down on the stone. The brunette asks if she's just going to sit there, to which the girl replies that she used up all her strength while treating him, and now she doesn't even know when she'll be able to return to the palace. Meanwhile, the brunette sits down next to the young lady, and he says that he heard the Duke refuses to take classes. Elena asks if the rumors have already reached there, but then she will definitely be fired. The brunette then asks if she really doesn't know what the Duke has been doing all this time, to which the girl replies that she only heard rumors that he was hooked on cakes again and that he should eat better. Although he wasn't short on height, and even the palace physician praised him, the emperor thought he'd grown considerably since then. And indeed, he had. Well, he wants to hear more. The young lady at this time looks at the emperor, and he asks what happened. Elena replies that he has a thoughtful expression, and the brunette asks if that's really true. After which the girl says, "There's no need to force yourself if something isn't working. After all, they are at the bottom of the social pyramid, so they can't neglect their health." The man then asks in shock where they are, and the young lady tells him not to be shy, because he is an apprentice knight. At this hour, he's already on the palace grounds, and with such work, he can't just leave whenever he wants. If he was practicing with a ball, that means he's still in training. But no matter how you look at it, a true knight wouldn't wear such simple clothes. The man then says that she is wrong, but then realizes that if you think about it, about his title at all. The girl then looks at the guy's face and asks if something really happened, after which he tells him to keep his chin up because he won't be a student all his life. But the guy says that's not true. The young lady then asks how his hand is, after which the brunette replies that everything is fine. And the girl asks if he wants to tell her anything, but he only asks what she's talking about. Elena replies that he should have said that he was fine, and that she had nothing else to worry about. After which she tells him to say it, and the guy thinks that this girl is so strange because she herself went into the imperial garden, and now she's even begging for a word of gratitude. But the emperor only smiles and thanks her. The young lady then says that she just needed someone to practice singing on, and then she turns to the uncle again and asks if he wants to make a deal. After all, she needs to train in using her power, so she asks if they could meet there once every 3 days. After all, she'll practice her magic on him, and he'll always be healthy. The girl then asks how he and a good summer are doing, after which the brunette says that he doesn't get wounded that often, so he doesn't even know. The man also understands that potions are being made for him so that he does not need healing magic. But maybe he can learn something useful, so he claims that his dream is to become a knight of the Palace of Dawn. The young lady then asks if this is true, and the man claims that it would be great to guard the entrance to the Palace of Dawn. The entire Duke cannot leave it, and the knights are afraid. And in the future, the Duke will be able to choose a new one for himself, and he would like to serve there. so he asks if the girl could tell him about the Duke. The main character then extends her hand and says that they have an agreement. The man then presses her, and the girl claims that she would be happy to work with him, after which she picks up her dirty clothes and says it's time for her to go. Well, then the young lady turns to the guy again, and he asks what it is. Elena claims that she doesn't even know his name and is wondering if he can tell her, after which the guy thinks about how to say this, because if he says his real name, the girl will understand who he is. And if he says that he is the emperor, then everything will be the same, and in any case, he will not take on any problems. The girl insists that she can't just call him uncle all the time. The man understands that there is of course one name, but he can't remember the last time he was called that, after which he tells the girl to call him Andre and simply Ray. The main character then gets ready to leave and says that they will meet Ray again, after which the emperor smiles and nods. A short time later, the girl sits at her study table, but he understands that the Duke as always did not come. Today, even Lady Ilya is not here. The girl also thinks what she should do since she promised Ray to tell him about the Duke. At this time, someone runs into the room and screams at the Lady Helene what the Duke has. He had a fit, the maids were trying to help the Duke, and the blonde was looking at him. She doesn't even know what to do. Earlier the girl was walking with the Duke and was commenting on how nice the weather was today, and the Duke would definitely feel better after the walk. But the guy claimed that he was not ready yet, after which the blonde claimed that it is better to face your fears head on. Well, then the guy also saw His Majesty the Emperor, after which he had a seizure. The nanny then asked the gentleman to calm down, after which she screamed for the lady to be brought in, Helen Weiss. A little while later, the main character runs out into the street and asks what happened there, and also why the Duke is in such a state. The blonde at this time tries to justify herself and claims that she simply thought he would feel better on a walk. Elena understands that from this day on, the relationship between Rosalind and Duke, Levi, will begin to deteriorate. At this time, the nanny turns to their mistress. Helen asks her to help the Duke. The girl understands that, according to the plot, some time will pass before they call the Holy Father. But this situation will leave a long-lasting mark on the Duke, so the girl wonders if she can replace the Holy Father. The young lady leans towards the boy and asserts that she will do her best. But she still thinks whether she can heal his mental trauma, and then she thinks that she needs to try. For the sake of this child, the guy begins to calm down after this and wonders why he feels so warm, and all the tension disappears. One of the maids claims his facial expression is back to normal, and the nanny turns to the lady and thanks her. But the girl claims that she did what she had to, and it's good that everything worked out. The maid then notices that the Lady Elena is not doing badly and asks what happened. The girl replies that everything is fine. She just felt a little dizzy. The lady realizes she used too much magic. At this time, the young lady also says that it is better to take the Duke to a quieter place. Ilya replies that this is true and orders the maids to quickly carry the Duke to the palace, to which they agree. Meanwhile, the protagonist thinks it's a good thing she was able to help him. Well, then she hears the blonde say that if she had known the Duke was in trouble, this would not have happened, and even Mrs. Elijah did not stop her. Elena thinks what she is saying. And are they really trying to shift the blame onto others? After which the girl says, Miss Rosalind, that she herself took the Duke out into the street, and he clearly said that he did not want to go out. The blonde then asks if the girl really wants to say that it's all her fault. But the main character claims that her involvement cannot be denied. Elena understands that it's better not to argue with her, otherwise there will be a lot of problems later. But the blonde only asks what she just said, after which the young lady asks her to forgive her, and she also understands that she cannot allow her to escape responsibility for what she did. Rosalind only gets angry about this and then says that they don't understand anything, and this is such impudence. The emperor is wondering who else to tell about this. A little while later, he tells the knights to tell His Holiness that there is no need to rush, to which they agree. The brunette claims that he was too inattentive and was simply happy with the news that his brother went outside. But when the boy met him, he became very scared and even started screaming. The emperor immediately ordered that His Holiness be summoned immediately. But a little while later, someone announced that the lady had arrived, Elena, and the man realizes it's a good thing the priestess was called. At that moment, someone informs His Majesty that they've sent a messenger to the palace to check on the Duke's condition, and the man says that it's good, after which he thinks that his heart is beating so hard that he needs to rest. The emperor also recalls his old relationship with his brother and wonders if he will ever be able to see him smile. A little while later, the duke asks if it was the priest who helped him and not the Holy Father, after which he also tells the nanny not to lie to him, but the woman claims that this is true because it is only her assumption, but he thinks that thanks to her help, he has no consequences after the seizure. The guy realizes that this time he really feels better and wonders if this girl really saved him. Meanwhile, the nanny says her heart aches from his indifference, after which the boy claims he's hungry. So he goes out for lunch, after which the woman asks if it's really that late, to which he replies, yes, so they can go. Well, the nanny then points out that he has theology classes now. The guy doesn't listen to her and moves on, after which the woman says that at least he feels better. A little while later, the young man walks down the corridor, and then they hear voices coming from the living room. The nanny then asks why children's voices are heard there, after which the duke opens the door, and he sees the priestess surrounded by children. One of the boys says he wants to hear her story again, and the main character asks if they really liked him so much. At that moment, the duke approaches them and asks what the story is. After all, if he's so interesting, then he wants to hear it too. The main character then wonders why the duke is there. She also realizes that she simply told the story to the children working in the palace. When she saw them peeking from behind the door, she immediately remembered the children she spent time with in kindergarten in her past life. And the duke always ignored her, so the girl wonders why he came today. The guy asks why she's silent. The young lady claims that this is a story from the Holy Scriptures, but then wonders where everyone went. The kids are outside the door at this time, wishing Lady luck. The boy says that it's time for his lesson, to which the girl replies that everything is correct, after which the duke asks why she then studied with them. After all, she is his teacher, so why is he shirking his work? To which the young lady replies that everything is not so, but thinks that he himself never came to her classes. After which the main character looks at one book and thinks that maybe this will work. The young lady asks the gentleman if he knows about the stories passed down through the generations in the Rahan church. Long ago, a young brother and sister were nearly eaten by a wolf. Impressed by their sincere desire, the great Rahan gave them a rope. The young lady then asks the boy how he likes it, and if the story is touching, but the boy claims that he does not remember it in the scriptures. Elena is a little nervous and claims that this story is passed down by word of mouth, and there are many stories in the teaching that are not written down in books. The young man then says that this is how it is, and asks if she will then tell him these stories in class. The young lady then agrees, claiming that the classes are in theology, after which the guy says that since she is his teacher, she will teach them during the classes. But the girl asks if he didn't say that he wouldn't visit them, to which he replies that yes. However, you can listen to the person who saved him once, and they can be interesting too. After which, the young man asks if he can, to which the young lady replies that she will be only glad. And the nanny with tears in her eyes thinks that the master has finally arrived. At this point, the boy tells the girl to continue her story, and he wonders what happened next. Elena understands that she thought she would soon be kicked out of there, but it looks like a chance has appeared to get closer to the duke. This is how she will be able to keep her promise to Ray. Meanwhile, in the Palace of the Sun, has gone too far with his cousin. Well, his interlocutor asks which of them tried so hard not to lose, that it all ended in a draw, and he became better with a sword. The Marquis claims that His Majesty always says so, after which he applies a wet towel to his earlier one and claims that sometimes he simply needs persistence, but the brunette claims that in order not to go against one's own desires, one should be careful. At this time, the butler says that as His Majesty ordered, he brought them the potion. The blonde then says that finally, and also claims that His Majesty is so serious, after which he also drinks the potion, and says that, as always, these potions are simply incredible. After all, the others don't even compare. The blonde also tells His Majesty to drink as well, but he replies that he will manage, after which the Marquis asks why, since they were made especially for him. The Emperor then states that he wants to make sure of something, and his interlocutor asks in what sense. The man replies that nothing special, after which he asserts that the West is currently unsettled. The blonde replies that he's heard about it, since Cain's taxes have doubled in other regions, and they seem to be buying grain from neighboring territories, especially in early spring when there is not enough of it. And in the north, where the main military forces are located, everyone is busy now. The blonde claims that he is keeping an eye on everything, so there is no need to worry so much, after which the brunette says that it is fine. But this year, everything may be delayed. At this time, the butler turns to His Majesty and claims that he has brought all the documents that need to be sorted out, and the class diary. The brunette then offers to see how his brother is doing, after which he asks what the butler will say about the teachers. The man then tells His Majesty that so far he has only had the opportunity to communicate with the daughter of Baron Francis. She is smart and witty, and he thinks that her abilities are sufficient to teach the Duke. The Emperor says that this is noticeable in the handwriting, but he also understands that he has not seen any improvement in Levi's health. Now he is recommended more intensive treatment, after which the man recalls how the lady asked if they could meet there once every 3 days. And she will practice her magic on him, and he will always be healthy. The boy understands that today they must meet. You just have to be fearless to set foot on the Emperor's territory again. The main character is already there at this point. A little while later, she turns to Ray and tells him she's there, then says he's right on time. The guy claims that he always keeps his promises, and the young lady says that this makes her happy. After all, she likes people she can rely on. The girl also asks how long he'll be standing there, after which he invites her to sit down. Well, the man says that she really is fearless. Elena claims that if he sits so far away, she will not be able to cure him, and then suggests starting her story about the Duke. The brunette claims that would be nice, and the young lady says that in truth, she and the Duke were never close. Previously, they had only met for meals. The girl asked what his favorite dish was. She also claimed that she liked desserts, but meat was also delicious, so she would like to know his preferences. The girl understood that it was good that she could talk to him, not only in class, because that way she had the opportunity to get to know him better. But after that, the Duke only asked why she needed this information, to which the girl replied that they saw each other every day. So it would be nice to get to know each other better, and see if she would like to become friends with the gentleman. The young man was a little surprised by this, and asked if the lady really wanted to become his friend. Elena replied that yes, that's why she wants to know more about the gentleman, what he likes and what makes him happy, and what makes him sad. She wants to continue having fun with him. The maid at this time claims that she brought more water, after which the young lady thanks him. And then he also turns to the gentleman and asks what he thinks about this. The guy then says that if she is so interested, then she can ask. And the young lady asks if it is true, and then let him answer her previous questions. And then, the guy only insisted after that she shouldn't speak with her mouth full. Now the young lady claims that it was through the attack that she was able to ferret out information about the Duke. So now he can ask anything he wants and be interested in whether a man wants to know about his favorite food or his most memorable book. The brunette then asks the girl how she sees Duke Levi, to which she replies that it will be difficult to answer right away. At first, the young lady thought that he was just a spoiled and selfish boy, but then I began to notice that his behavior was different from what was in the novel, and yet the story was written from Rosalind's point of view. Now the young lady claims the Duke is a very strong child. He lost his parents early in life and can't even meet his only older brother. Due to his high status, he has no friends at all, and he cannot even leave the palace due to illness. But the Duke doesn't give up and continues to smile every day. And although he's young, he's very determined and considerate of others' feelings. The Duke continues to grow and change, and apparently industry as well as stubbornness is hereditary. The brunette then says that just like the young lady, she is a little embarrassed when she meets his gaze. The girl realizes that this is the first time she has seen a person with such a beautiful smile. At this time, the Emperor asks what she thinks and what is most important for the Duke now, after which the young lady is a little surprised. Well, he claims that children don't need anything special, because the main thing is to believe in him and show your love. That will be enough. The man then says that it's clear and understands that this girl is different from the Baron's daughter, since none of Levi's teachers have ever told him anything like that. The girl then says that since there are no more questions, it's her turn, and asks where he got hurt. The man replies that he got a little bit on his arm, and tells the young lady that it's terrible because he also has a bruise. Elena claims that she will try to heal all his wounds, after which she begins to use her power, after which the young lady says that she is tired, and the brunette looking at his hands claims that this is incredible, and she did say that she is the most sacred of the middle class. But with such power, the road to higher things is open to her, which surprises the young lady, and she realizes that she is, after all, a commoner. People with healing powers are usually considered to be of middle or upper class. Rahan's blessing is so rare, and the girl thinks about what she should answer him. At this point, the brunette asks if he said something wrong, but the girl replies that no, and everything is fine. Elena understands that now they will see each other often, so it will be difficult to continue to hide her origin, and she does not want to lie to him, so the young lady thinks maybe she should tell him the truth. The protagonist asks if Ray is a nobleman, to which he replies that he is and the girl asks him not to think too much, but since they made a deal, she will be honest with him. Just let him promise not to tell anyone what the guy is agreeing to. And then the young lady claims that she is a commoner, and also understands what she said after all. She felt uncomfortable being treated like a noblewoman, and found it unbearable to lie to them. But then the young lady looks at the brunette and wonders if he really has zero reaction. The girl then turns to Ray, but he only asks why she can't move up to the upper class, and replies that the empire has a very strict status system. Elena also realizes that his silence has made her nervous. The man then says that it would be better if people could advance regardless of their social status, but that won't happen in the current empire. The girl replies that this is exactly how common people have to work constantly to feed themselves, and if they could get an education, then their abilities would begin to be valued, and then it would be easier to advance. Talented swordsmen like Lord Arnes work in the fields because they lack funds, and many incredibly smart people have to work in stables, so there are a lot of them in the country. The man at this time realizes that he thought this girl was strange, but she has interesting thoughts. Her opinion of Levi was also unusual, and the man wondered if perhaps he should increase the number of his theology classes. Meanwhile, the girl said the sun was already setting, and the brunette says that it's time for him to go. Then Elena thinks that it seems like he doesn't care about her origin, and the guy only claims that they will meet there in 3 days at the same time. After which he leaves, and the young lady thinks that, although they didn't really talk for some reason, she felt cheerful, and it seems that Ray is not prejudiced against commoners, so she can't wait for their next meeting. A short time later, the maids whisper that the Duke and the priest's mistress have begun spending a lot of time together. One of them also claims that the mistress actually helped the Duke when he had a seizure. Her colleague claims that this is probably why His Majesty increased the number of theological classes. At this time, the main character turns to the gentleman and asks him to give it to me, and he still won't go there. But the boy asks her why, after which the young lady understands that it all started with that she opened an envelope for upper-class people that someone had thrown out in the living room. Inside was an invitation to a banquet at the Imperial Palace, and now the young lady just cries out that she wants to go there, after which she claims that she always wanted to attend a banquet, and that adults sometimes need to have fun too. The young man then asks if she really wants to say that he is boring, and who asked her to increase the number of classes. The girl replies that's why she needs a break. She realizes she's overwhelmed by the amount of work she has to do, and she doesn't have as many stories to tell. So the young lady tells the Duke to give her back the invitation, but he replies that he doesn't, and if she has time to go to such places, then she should tell him more stories. And why bother with the priest and the banquet? It discredits priests. Well, the young lady says they're people too. The girl understands that the reason why she wants to go there, judging by the plot of the novel, is that Marquis Werner will appear there, and she can't pass up such a chance. The guy asks her what she'll give him in exchange, and she thinks he'll just let her go. The young lady then asks what he wants to, which he replies that he needs 5 tickets to extend classes, and the main character says how ruthless he is, after which the young man turns around and says that he wants it, as he wants, but the young lady suggests agreeing on 2. The Duke claims that he didn't know his teacher was so shameless, and he will settle for a 3, but no less. Otherwise, he will burn this envelope. Elena thinks what a little bastard he is after, which she says that it's fine, and he will be 3, to which the guy replies that they have agreed, and the young lady immediately takes the envelope, and the guy claims that he will then take advantage of 1 extension today. But the girl insists she's already told a story today. The guy then asks if there's something wrong with her, and if so, then she should return the envelope. Elena replies that no, and that she just has a slightly sore throat, after which the guy suggests taking a break for an hour. The young lady wonders if it would be okay if she took a rest, and the Duke asks if she really thinks he is completely heartless. A little while later, the young lady realizes that she had been wondering why he decided to take a break. And he was just waiting for all the children working in the palace to gather, and maybe he enjoyed listening to stories with the others. And even he has a sweet side. The young lady claims that today will be a story about everyone's favorite sun god Rahan, more precisely about the wind that envied him. The guys then say how interesting it is. Well, the Duke says that if they make so much noise, the story won't be heard. He also addresses the main character and tells her to be more serious and start faster and not to stop. The girl then replies that she understood Mr. Lin and begins his story. The young lady is being watched by the Marquise, and the butler addresses him and asks whether to inform him of his visit. The man replies that it's not worth it since he just came to look. Meanwhile, the main character continues her story. The blonde thinks what an unexpected sight this is, because it's the first time he's seen this problematic child listen to someone so obediently. He was curious about the priest who was able to bring the Duke to his senses. Well, as Maynard said, she's quite a nice and interesting person. A little while later, it was time for the banquet at the Imperial Palace. The girl wonders if she really is there. In the novel, this event was described very beautifully, but she didn't think that in reality it would be even better. Everyone came in pairs, except her. The girl thinks she'll spend her time better with this delicious cake. Well, then she hears someone talking to Miss Frances and saying that she looks so beautiful today. He also wonders if this dress was made especially for her, after which the blonde smiles and says that he is exaggerating, and the main character looking at her thinks it is thanks to whom that her dress shines so much. And yet she washed them in the river until her hands went numb. And then the girl realizes what she's thinking about washing at such a magnificent banquet. After which, he thinks he needs to eat the cake quickly, but at that very moment, someone turns to the young lady and asks if she likes the cake. So surprised chokes, after which the guy apologizes and says that he didn't mean to scare her. Elena replies that nothing and everything is fine, but then she asks if this is really Lord Arnes. At this time, the guy tells Mrs. Elena that they haven't seen each other for a long time, and he didn't expect to meet her there. The girl then asks why he is there, but the guy replies that he is also an aristocrat. Elena understands that at their first meeting, he was dressed like a knight, but now he exudes wealth as expected from the air of a count. At this time, the knight asks if something has happened, to which the young lady replies that no, and thinks that he is simply too handsome. Maynard claims they haven't seen each other since that day in the library, and the young lady says she's been very busy lately. The guy then says that he wore so many clothes from his theology teacher, and that she really is a wonderful person since she helps her colleague. The girl understands that Maynard is so easily surprised, and in the book he was the same. His unrequited love, Rosalind. He hid his own feelings so as not to disturb hers. She was so hurt for him. So now the young lady takes a piece of cake and hands it to the knight. She also tells him to take some because he likes desserts, but the guy then asks how she knows about that. Elena replies that she did read the Empress, but at the same moment she understands what she just said, after which she claims she can see it in his eyes. The young man then asks if she could tell from his face that he likes sweets, and the young lady replies that the atmosphere around him is like a cream pie, and almost everyone likes cakes, so the girl hands him a piece. Then the knight thanks Lady Elena and replies that she is also glad that she found the one with whom she can eat cake. The young lady also says that it is very tasty and asks if the guy thinks so, to which he replies that yes, indeed, it is. Maynard also inquires if the Duke is there too. The young lady notes that only she and Baron Francis's daughter have arrived from the Palace of Dawn, after which the guy says that's how it is, and the young lady understands that they were talking about Rosalind, and the guy didn't even bat an eyelid. And the main character wonders if they haven't yet become close. Meanwhile, the guy asserts that he thinks the banquet will be extended due to His Majesty's absence. The young lady asks why, and the guy replies that everyone would be upset if they didn't see such a noble person there. Without him, the atmosphere there is not the same, and no one will be satisfied with the banquet if he does not come. The young lady then says that's it, after which she also thinks, where is Rainier? At this time, the knight asks the young lady if she is waiting for someone, to which she replies that she is not, and simply looks around. The boy wonders if she's bored with him, but at that very moment, the butler turns to the knight and claims the Count has summoned him. The boy says he'll be right there. After which, he also turns to Mistress Elena and asks if it's okay if he steps away for a bit. The girl replies that, of course, and she doesn't mind. After which, the knight claims he will return soon. The young lady, meanwhile, thinks that Rainier would sooner come, after which she hears someone screaming, and looking in that direction, wonders if this is really a scene from a novel. Someone steps on the main character's dress, and she almost falls, but then a guy with blonde hair offers her his hand, and he asks if the lady is hurt. The main character realizes that this is, after all, a dazzling blonde man who has inherited imperial blood. His blue eyes are like precious stones, and no girl in the Empire can take her eyes off him. This guy is Marquis Rainier von Werner. The girl thinks she can't even believe such a handsome man exists, and the main character is incredibly lucky. After all, such a handsome guy will be courting her, although in the original story, she chose the Emperor. So the girl thinks how much more handsome he is than the Marquis, but then she notices the guy looking in her direction, after which she even wonders what just happened and whether she imagined it. At this moment, a knight approaches the young lady and claims he has returned. The girl asks if he has really returned so quickly and if he has finished his business. Maynard replies that he simply needed to greet his father. The young man also inquires whether the lady had communicated with anyone in his absence. Elena replies that no, because she doesn't know anyone there, after which the guy says that's how it is, and once again turns to Mrs. Elena. He also claims that it looks like they'll be launching fireworks later, to which the girl replies that she can't wait. The guy says he can if she doesn't mind. But at that moment, someone approaches the young lady from behind. She's surprised and loses her balance. It turns out to be that very same Marquise. He tells the lady to be careful, which surprises her. The guy claims it seems she doesn't often come to places like this. Elena wonders if this is Marquis Rainier von Werner, after which she doesn't understand at all what he's doing there. The knight then claims that this was extremely disrespectful to the lady, so he asks the Marquis to be careful. He also asks Madame Elena if Léon is okay, to which the girl replies that he is. At this time, Maynard asks the Marquis what brought him there, and he seemed to not want to come. The man replies that yes, and at least he had such plans, after which he also tells the guy to look there. The knight looks in the direction he pointed, and the Marquis asks if this is the Count of Winterhill. The blonde man replies that it seems he has come to the capital because of problems with the army in the north, and he can't leave the banquet in the imperial palace to the flow of aristocracy. But this man lived in seclusion for almost 20 years, and then suddenly came to the bank because what was he planning? After which, the guy turns to the young lady because he notices how she is looking at him. At this time, the girl thinks that this is the real Rainier, and she can't even believe that she is standing next to him. Maynard then goes to introduce the young lady, but the blonde insists that he knows and that she is, after all, the Duke's theology teacher. He also says he's pleased to meet me, and then introduces himself. Elna claims she's honored to meet him, and I ask how he knows she's a theology teacher. The blonde replies that they had chatted earlier with her colleague, and he learned from her that the lady is a theology teacher. Then, when she looked in his direction, and it was Lady Rosaline who pointed at her, the girl then thought that it couldn't be that the first dialogue between one of the main male characters and the main character was about her. The guy then says that lately everyone has been talking about how the selfish Duke opened up to the lady. That's why he wanted to meet her. The girl realizes she's a bit uneasy about these rumors, while the blonde insists he heard she had a hard time because of his younger cousin. Elna replies that it's okay, and she likes her job. The man then remembers observing the young lady and thinks, yes, she really does take her job very seriously. At this time, the guy says that even though he is his cousin, the Duke's persistence amazes him, and he understands what the lady had to go through, after which he kisses her hand. He also claims that seeing such a beautiful and amazing person suffer breaks his heart. The guy understands that the lady will blush and then fall in love with him. But when he looks at the main character, he realizes that she has no reaction at all. At this time, other people ask if the girl saw that the Marquise kissed her hand. At this time, the main character is thinking about what just happened and whether Rainier really kissed her hand. And she experienced that scene from the novel firsthand. So now she feels like she's been to a fan meeting. The guy then only thinks that he doesn't believe it, and no one has ever reacted so dryly. At this time, the knight turns to Lady Helen and asks if everything is all right with her. After all, if she's feeling ill. But the girl says it's not because of that. She's just hungry since she hasn't had any cake. The knight realizes at this point that his mistress is hungry and he didn't even notice. Elena says that she will eat a little more and asks if Mr. Arns will make her stay company. Well, then the blonde offers to go with them too, if they don't mind, of course. The young lady then wonders if in the novel he ate cake at the banquet, and he should have already liked Rosaline. Well, now the guy suggests that they go, and the young lady thinks, why these two are walking around her? Because it's somehow strange. And the girl wonders why what's happening is different from the novel, after which the young lady asks if they don't have anything else to do. The blonde asks if the lady really wants him to leave there, and he replies that no, and she just thought that they have a lot to do without Togo. The Marquis replies that no, and he is free, after which the young lady tells him to think carefully, because maybe he has forgotten something after all. And suddenly, he remembers what this matter is, or maybe he has already arranged a meeting with someone. The guy then wonders if she really took him for a womanizer, and also if the girl really isn't interested in him at all, after which the blonde insists that his gaze is now focused solely on Mistress Elena. He also understands that he won't back down so easily, after which the young lady cuts a piece of cake and hands it to the Marquise, and also says that he really wanted to eat the cake. The guy then says that he looks even more appetizing in her hands, and the girl realizes that maybe she is too worried about the original story. The Marquis smiles after this and says that Madame Elena turned out to be much more charming than he imagined. The young lady then thanks him, but realizes that she just talked to him briefly and gave him a piece of cake, after which the girl also claims that he had previously said that he came there because of the Count, to which the guy replies that yes, and his family rules the largest territory in the north. Before his predecessor, he held the post of representative of the Aristocratic Association, but due to a scandal, the current leader was forced to return to his territories. It is said that during this time, things began to improve in the imperial palace, as did the lives of the local residents. The guy also thinks that, of course, this is not all, because Winterhill has a strong military power, which is closely monitored by the imperial palace. This family could rebel at any moment, and the guy doesn't know why he came to the banquet. But now he understands the aristocrats' unrest. At this time, someone asks the ladies and gentlemen for forgiveness for the wait, and claims that very soon they will see a Sufi performance with doors. If they want to watch the Creed family's wizards, they can head to the balcony or the garden. The young lady thinks about the fireworks and realizes that this is after all the main event of this banquet. And these two had to look at them together with Rosalind, after which the girl says that at this point she deviates. Well, at that very moment, two guys simultaneously turn to Ms. Elena and invite her to look at the fireworks, after which they exchange glances, and the main character wonders what is going on there, and do they really want to watch the fireworks with her? After which the lady apologizes and says she thinks they should invite Miss Frances. The knight then asks who that is, and the blonde man asks why he should sleep with her. Elena understands that the situation is beyond reasonable control, and she shouldn't be the one spending time with them. And the main character Rosalind is why the girl wonders if she really changed history that much. Then the young lady drops the dishes. Two young men immediately yell at Mistress Elena and ask if everything is okay. The girl realizes that the people who were eagerly awaiting the fireworks at the magnificent banquet finally watched as the main character and two men approached. So the young lady wonders why she messed everything up. A little while later, the blonde says the girl has been too willful lately, and she can't believe she has time to indulge in lovemaking. The young lady asks what she's talking about, to which her interlocutor replies that there are rumors that she had a pleasant conversation at the banquet with Lord Arns and Marquise Werner, but she tripped on purpose to get his attention. The main character tells the girl not to worry, because nothing happened between them, and the blonde says that this is good, after which she claims that her help is needed. The girl says that she took everything to her room, so let her check it quickly. A little while later, Elena carries dirty clothes and thinks about where she got so many dirty things from, and also whether she really changes clothes 3 times a day. The young lady also thinks that she too should have a weak spot, since she has to go to the library and clean her room. She doesn't even have time to sleep or rest, and the more she interferes with the plot, the worse it gets. After which, the young lady throws the basket in the blonde's room and claims that she is finished with the laundry. Rosalind then says that the girl didn't clean the room well, but the young lady replies that this can't be because she washed everything there clean. And Elena asks if the girl really wants to make her clean such a big room again. The girl understands that she means to wash her clothes in cold water until her hands go numb, and she sits there sipping tea. After which, the blonde says that the girl leaves her no choice and will have to tell the emperor that the duke is being taught by a commoner. Elena thinks about everything and then asks where she can wipe it down again. Rosalind asks if she means the whole room, after which the girl claims that she will go get everything necessary for cleaning, but she understands that this cannot continue, and if she does not do something, she will soon collapse without strength. Incidentally, in the novel, Rosaline was very busy. She didn't just teach classes. Well, she had an affair with 3 heroes, and the girl understands that if she uses this, even though she changed history a little, this is only the beginning, because if she helps Rosalind with her love affairs, then everything will return to normal. And it's not for nothing that she read this novel, so the girl understands that she will do this to get her peaceful days back. A little while later, a young lady comes to the emperor's garden and asks if Ray came straight from training, after which she also tells him to quickly give her his hand because it will heal her. The man extends his hand, but thinks that the girl really does look like a rabbit. After which, he also asks if they have to hold hands during the healing. And also, isn't she being too cautious? The girl asks if he's serious, but insists that it's part of the healing process, or he only wants to be touched by his loved one, to which the latter replies that no, and that it's not like that. And the main character says that she finished and everything turned out well, after which the guy thanks her. And the young lady thinks that for some reason today, she feels more dizzy than usual, and it's probably because she's tired. At this time, the brunette approaches the girl and asks if everything is okay, because it seems like she is getting dizzy when she uses her powers. The girl replies that she was just a little overzealous, but she understands that the guy is too close, and he even looks at her like that. The brunette insists that her eye color has changed, after which the young lady asks what he is talking about, and the young man claims that at their first meeting, they were not so pale, and maybe it has something to do with her powers. Elena claims she doesn't know, and somehow didn't notice. Meanwhile, her boyfriend claims he feels some changes in his body after her treatment, and maybe she has some other powers too. The girl then asks what that means, after which the brunette claims he doesn't understand either. After all, her power seems to mix with his mana and then accumulate in his body. According to the indicators, they should be equal, so this has never happened to him before. And yet it is strange to feel the mana of another person within himself. However, he won't say it's bad. The girl claims that this is the first time she's used magic so often, and he hasn't gotten any worse. After which the guy says no and everything's fine. The young lady then says that thank God, because she thought she'd messed everything up, but if he feels any changes, he should tell her right away. The guy agrees, but he understands that this is the first time he has been treated like this, and it is a strange feeling. The lady at this time asserts that she wanted to ask if he knew Lord Arnis. The guy then asks who it is, and the young lady claims that it is a tall, dark-haired knight, and that he is still close to the emperor. He's so famous, so how could a guy not know him? But the brunette asks why the girl is asking about him, and he replies that it would take too long to explain, and he wanted to know about Duke Levi. But he has a high status, so it's not surprising he doesn't know him. The guy then says, it's okay, and he can find out from others. The young lady then rejoices, and says that it was a good idea to approach him. The guy asks what she wants to know about Lord Arins, to which the young lady replies that she is interested in what kind of girls he likes. A little while later, the knight knocks on His Majesty's room, after which he tells the boy to come in. The knight does so, and then tells His Majesty that he has arrived at his direction. The young man also wonders if he has some kind of errand. But the brunette immediately asks Maynard what kind of girls he likes, and let him write down his ideal type. After this, Razriv is surprised and wonders why he's being asked such questions. But the man only tells him to answer faster, after which the guy states that he likes girls who are good at cookings. He also likes well-read people, and it is important that they have a lot of common topics for conversation. But then the knight asks His Majesty if everything is all right, to which he replies that everything is fine. The boy says that if he needs anything, he should just say so. But the man immediately replies that he did say that everything was fine. Maynard realizes this is completely unlike His Majesty, who never gives in to emotions. After which the emperor asks one last question. What time does he usually visit his favorite pastry shop? A little while later, the main character is heading out in a carriage and thinks that she hasn't been there often lately. But she doesn't think that Ray was wrong. But the girl also thinks that maybe he is busy now and there was no such conversation. After which, the girl also thinks about how she can introduce the knight to Rosalind. Well, when the main character is about to approach the entrance, she sees a knight there. The guy then turns to the lady, after which he tells Elena that they haven't seen each other for a long time. The young lady replies yes, and wonders if he's already leaving. The girl also wonders what he's doing there, especially in the library. But their meeting still means nothing, after which the girl claims that she still needs to return her book before the library closes. But the guy asks the mistress, Elna waits. The girl asks if something really happened, after which the guy says yes, if she doesn't mind. Then could she spare him a little of her time? The young lady then remarks that the Lord had such a serious face just now, after which the young man apologizes, but claims that it was probably too sudden, and also apologizes for frightening her. The girl then says it's nothing, and he also understands that Rosalind will definitely give him some work when she returns, after which he realizes that she doesn't want to go back. And maybe she should go with Maynard after all. After which the girl says that it's good that she returns the book. Well, the guy immediately offers his help with this, after which he takes the book from the girl's hands. And he claims he'll be back soon. The main character wonders where he's going to take her. And why is she so worried? A little while later, they arrive at the pastry shop. Maynard tells Mrs. Elena to pass through, and the girl realizes that this is the pastry shop where the knight goes. He was supposed to meet Rosalind here. The girl wondered why they'd come there and whether the guy hadn't stopped going there. At this time, the young man looks at the girl, after which he becomes a little depressed and says that it's probably strange that a knight comes to such places. Elena replies that no, not at all, and that she's simply never been there, so she's surprised. The girl realizes she's completely forgotten that the guy is shaming her with his love of sweets, after which she claims that it doesn't matter to her what suits whom, because absolutely everyone likes sweets. Elena also asks if it's great that their tastes coincide, to which the guy replies that he didn't even think about it, after which he thanks Mrs. Elena, and then he offers to transgress. But when the main character looks at the place where the cakes once were, T is shocked because there is almost nothing left there. The guy then asks what happened, and the main character claims there are almost no cakes left. She also takes Lord Arnes. He grabs their hand and insists that they need to hurry, otherwise all the delicious cakes will be eaten without them. The young man then turns to Mrs. Elena, and the main character, turning to him, asks what happened, after which the guy claims everyone is looking at them. The main character watches them holding hands, then apologizes, claiming she's being impatient. She also suggests hurrying up before everything is taken away. The young man looks at his hand and only smiles. A little while later, they are already sitting at the table, and the girl asks which cake she should choose, because they all look so delicious. And now she understands why they're selling out so quickly. The young man just smiles afterward, and Elena asks why he's laughing, to which he replies that the girl is just so sweet. Elena says that no matter how much he praises her, she will not give him those strawberries on the cake. Maynard then offers Mrs. Elena to try the chocolate cake. Hey, the girl asks if he really thinks she's that greedy. The girl understands that delicious desserts and pleasant conversation are very good, and she has not spent time like this for a long time. When they finish their meal, the girl thanks the Lord for bringing them, to be honest. She had been feeling depressed lately. The guy asks if she feels any better, to which the young lady replies yes, with a smile on her face. The young man then becomes embarrassed and realizes that this is the silhouette that kept popping up in his memory, the one he wanted to see the most. So now he looks at the lady with a smile on his face. The girl then says that he just had such a face, and the guy asks if that's really true, to which the young lady replies, of course, although he's always like that, and it's not flattery because anyone would think the same in her place. Then the young lady addresses the boy by name, but she realizes what she just said and corrects herself, calling him Lord Arnes. The girl also says that he is so handsome, so it's no wonder everyone loves him. Elena also understands that she was so excited that she completely forgot and called him by name. The guy then turns to Ms. Elena and says that he has a request for her, after which the girl asks what it is. Maynard says that if it wouldn't be too much trouble, could the lady please call him by his first name? The main character is surprised by this and realizes that they are not that close. after which he thinks whether he really wants them to become friends and turns to the Lord. But he just blushes and says that if the lady wants, she can have his cake and eat it too. Elna wonders why he's so embarrassed. But he says that he hasn't eaten at all, to which he replies that he's already eaten his fill. Their main character says that then nothing can be done. After all, you can't leave food like that, after which she thanks Lord Maynard, and the guy also thanks her, calling her by name. The girl realizes that one of the main male characters, Maynard von Arnis, has turned on love mode. A little while later, someone says the shawl looks like it was made for the mistress. So the young lady turns to Ilya and asks if she can really accept such a valuable item. The woman replies that of course, because it was done for her, and the lady worked very hard to train the Duke. The main character thanks them, but claims that she feels a bit awkward and understands that this is the first time in this world that she has had such a good time. The girl didn't think that she would become so attached to this place, after which the maid turns to the mistress and says that she began to look better. Elena says that she hasn't changed at all, but the woman claims that there are rumors about this, even among the courtiers. And didn't she notice? Elena claims people only look at her because of that beautiful shawl. Well, the Duke claims that he doesn't think that such an inconspicuous and lowly saint could interest the others. The girl then says that the Duke is apparently a giant, and the boy replies that he is taller than other 8-year-olds, after which he turns to the servants and seems to tell them he won't give up the lady. The girl wonders if he doesn't appreciate her popularity. At this time, the guy tells the nanny to stop flattering Elena because suddenly she will take everything seriously. At this time, a maid approaches the Duke and says that he has a visitor. The main character wonders if Levi really has guests and if anyone has ever visited him before. The guy then asks who's there, after which the maid claims that this is Marquis Rainier von Werner, and the main character wonders if this day has really come. According to the novel's plot, the Marquise came to visit Rosalind at the Palace of Dawn after the banquet. They hadn't been able to spend time together then, but now, the girl realizes that she can return the novel to its original form, after which the guy asks where he is now. The maid replies that he's waiting in the garden. The heroine realizes that the Duke has only seen the imperial palace from afar before, and she wonders if everything will be all right when he meets the Marquise. A little while later, they are already heading to the garden, after which the blonde turns to the boy and asks how he's doing. The main character, looking at this guy, realizes that he shines brighter than the sun. At this time, the Duke tells his brother that they haven't seen each other for a long time, and his clothes are still just as shiny. The Marquis then says the boy hasn't changed at all, and hasn't even grown much. The young lady realizes that everything seems fine between them. Well, then the blonde looks at her, and the girl thinks why, after which she bows, and also says that it is nice to meet the gentleman again. At this time, the guy says that they have finally met, after which he kisses the lady's hand. The main character then asks if he could let go of her hand. I think that's what Rainier always greets ladies like this. At this time, the man says that he is very sad because the lady never responded to his letter, and he already thought that something had happened. But she's still just as beautiful. The girl then asks if he's talking about the letter. After all, she didn't receive anything. The blonde insists that he sent 3 balls to this country, and no one could have taken them, after which they look at the Duke. But he asks why the lady is looking at him like that. And does she really think it was him? At this time, the Marquis claims that in fact, there was a check for a tidy sum in one letter, and it would be a shame if it was not found. The guy then takes out the letter and says that he is lying because there was nothing like that in them. The main character then asks the gentleman why he did this, after which the guy doesn't even know how to explain. And the blonde asks, isn't it clear, since he always has such a beautiful girl with him? The Duke then says that everything is wrong, after which he cries out that it is for Elena's sake. And Brother Rainier is a womanizer who is hard to find, so Elena shouldn't be fooled by his face and sweet words. After all, I should only be looking at appearances. The blonde then says that there's no arguing, after all the past can't be changed, and so he asks not to misunderstand his feelings. The Duke then asks what he wants now, and that he should not dare bother Elena. But the Marquis asks since when does the guy decide for her, since she is simply his theology teacher. But the young man says that this is not true, because Elena is like an older sister to him. The main character is surprised by this, and the Marquis understands that the guy has never opened up to anyone like this before. He also thinks about what kind of ability this lady has to attract people to her, and he also has his eye on hers. After which the man apologizes for going too far. But these letters were intended for Mrs. Elena, nearby at the moment, and he wonders how his brother will react. The Duke asks if this letter is really from his brother, after which he says it's time for him to go. And the main character apologizes and asks the Marquise if she can ask a question. Well, he replies, yes. The young lady asks if he's aware that the Duke has fits at the sight of grown men. So why is he so calm around him? The blonde man asks if she's noticed, and then he'll tell you something. Their last meeting with the Duke was 5 years ago. And then he immediately fainted. After this, His Majesty immediately returned to the Empire, where chaos reigned. So he didn't have time for his younger brother, so he decided to take on this role himself. Eventually, the boy began to cry less and became closer to him. It was difficult to achieve any improvement in his condition. The young lady says that he seems to value his cousin very much and understands that Rainier was also very busy. After all, he became a marquise at an early age. The guy at this time says that he would rather call it a sense of responsibility. At this time, the young lady thinks that maybe this way, his relationship with the emperor will improve. While the blonde guy claims that he feels better, thinking that the guy has become attached to the lady. He's having a hard time right now, so he asks her to calm the Duke down. Elena asks if she should try to get an answer from him, but he replies that it's not worth it. And he thinks that His Majesty is already used to this, because Levi has never accepted his invitations, and they haven't seen each other since that incident. The main character wonders if they've really been living apart all this time. The Marquis claims that the criminal who targeted Levi is still at large. He's so afraid he can't meet his own family, which is why he feels so sorry for them. Well, it seems to him that their meeting can be arranged, because the lady herself saw that the Duke can calmly be near him. So if he sits with him at lunch, everything should go well. The main character wonders if Rainier really wants to go with them. Well, she also understands that in the novel, the guy never did anything without a reason, and is interested in what he wants in return. Marquez claims that the lady understands him well, and that everything is very simple. Therefore, let the girl allow herself to be accompanied to dinner in a few days, and she only needs to send a note, and also refuse the already arranged dinner with the Duke of Lloyd. He has one wish, and he wants the girl to listen to his one request. This request will not burden her, or take much time, and he will also accept any answer. The main character understands that even though she doesn't trust him, this is a great chance to help Levi's. After which, the young lady accepted his proposal. After that day, everything went well. Duke Levi decided to accept the emperor's invitation at the suggestion of Marquise Werner. Everyone in the Palace of Dawn was tense and expectant. A short time later, the young lady addressed Ray, and he asks if something really happened, and also why his face is so tense. The guy asks if it's noticeable, but to tell the truth, he will soon meet his younger brother, with whom he hasn't communicated. Elena says it's a coincidence, because His Majesty, also a girl, also asks how long it's been since they last saw each other. The brunette replies that he can't even remember. But the main character asks if he shouldn't be happy about this, to which the guy replies that that's how it is. But he doesn't know what to talk about. The man realizes he brought the guy a gift for his 6th birthday. Without warning about his visit, when the boy saw his brother, he was very surprised and had another seizure. The man realizes that he didn't think the guy would accept his invitation, and the main character, looking at Ray, asks if everything is okay. The brunette replies that he was just lost in thought. Elena then asks how old his brother is, to which the man replies that he'll be 8 this year, and he didn't have parents, so he was raised by someone else. The main character realizes that this guy and the Duke are the same age and have similar stories. After which, she asks if it wouldn't be better to find out what he likes, and whether it would be possible to ask about his hobby or about a girl he's interested in. The brunette claims he thinks the guy is too young for a relationship, but Elena says he doesn't understand because today's kids grow up so quickly. It would be a good idea to start the conversation by asking about his interests. The girl also suggests that Ray needs to relax a little. She of course doesn't know all the circumstances, but isn't it wonderful that they will meet again? The man then asks the young lady if her family is waiting, to which she replies that she doesn't exist. I was abandoned near the church when I was a child. Usually when children are abandoned, their clothes and other belongings are left behind. But in her case, everything was different, because she was an unwanted child. The brunette asks if the girl hates her parents. To something she answers that no, but she thinks that trees with a trunk grow straight and strong. And as much as the guy loves his brother, he wants to meet him just as much. So he needs to be a support for his brother. And Elena says that she hopes their meeting goes well. The man then strokes Elena's head and thanks her. This makes the protagonist a little embarrassed. And she also understands that at the moment when his smile became warmer, her heart gave a strange beat. Hey, the girl thinks, what kind of feeling is this? A little while later, the day of the meeting with the emperor comes, and the duke prepares. The main character approaches him and asks if he is ready yet, to which he replies that yes. Well, the young lady, seeing his reaction, asks if something is wrong, and he is unwell. The guy is silent for a while after this, but asks if everything will be okay when he and his brother meet. And what should he do if he disgraces himself again? Because his brother will not feel sorry for him at all. What if he hurts his brother again? Elna understands why the boy is so worried. Well, the girl also understands that now he should be bolder, after which she remembers about her pendant. The girl takes it out from under her clothes and claims that it contains her healing power. The young lady thinks that she still doesn't understand why she values this pendant so much. But he will definitely help her, after which the girl puts it on the duke and claims that if he gets worse, then let him take care of it. This pendant will give him strength when he sees his majesty. The young man, smiling, asks if this is true. Well, the main character replies that, of course, but he needs to remember something. After all, even if he has now mustered up the courage to come to the meeting, there is nothing shameful in the fact that he will want to return at some point, and no matter what happens, His Majesty will always cherish him. The guy then tells the young lady that he has a favor to ask. Elna asks what it is, and the gentleman can say whatever he wants, after which the couple, a little embarrassed, asks if the girl can now just call him by his first name. She agrees, and then wishes him luck. Elena thinks she has a good feeling about their meeting. Rainier will be with them, so there shouldn't be any problems, and she hopes that everything will be fine. At this time in the imperial palace, someone informs the master that the lords have already arrived in the dining hall. The brunette realizes that the day has finally arrived, and his desire won't hurt the guy. Well, if he sees his frightened brother again. But then the man remembers how the young lady said that she thinks trees and their trunks grow straight and strong. Therefore, he needs to become a support for his brother, and the man thinks that this is right, because you can't run away forever. To become a support, he must take a step towards him. After that, the man enters the room. Both the Duke and the Marquis greet His Majesty. The Emperor looks at his brother and thinks, thank God, it seems he's doing well for now. After which he says that he is glad to see the guy again, and also understands that it would be better not to disturb him during the meal. After which he invites them to sit down, because he has selected their favorite dishes from today's menu. The Marquis sits down at the table and says that it is so thoughtful of him, after which he says that the steak and side dish taste simply wonderful. After this, the Marquis turns to Levi and offers him something to eat too. But the boy is a little nervous at this point. Then the Emperor turns to him and tells him that he can relax and eat slowly. The man also thanks him for coming today. The blonde also turns to the Duke and asks what that red pendant is around his neck. The design is very similar to a woman's. The guy replies that Elena gave him this pendant. The Marquis then turns to the Emperor and asks if he knows about the Duke's theology teacher. His Majesty claims he heard about it from Hugo. Well, he thinks that more accurately, they see each other every 3 days. The blonde then turns to the Duke and says that they are close. After all, someone who doesn't know would definitely think that they are brother and sister, to which the guy replies that the teacher Elena is different from other priests. Rainier says that she is quite an interesting person, and then turns to His Majesty, and he says that maybe he should meet this girl, but the Emperor only understands that they already know each other's. Marquez claims that this girl looks weak, but in fact she is brave, and even his gaze does not embarrass her, so it hurts his pride a little. The brunette thinks that this girl is strong in spirit, but the Duke claims that it is Elena. She doesn't judge people by their appearance. She has a big heart, and she always listens attentively to his stories. His Majesty understands that Levi talks so much, but he seems to have embarrassed him, after which he also decides to follow Elena's advice and asks the Duke if he likes Elena, after which the guy becomes embarrassed and says he doesn't know what to say. Marquez insists he's sounding unsure and wonders if he really likes the girl, even wants to marry her, after which the Duke asks what he's talking about. And in 10 years, He'll already be an adult. The emperor realizes he probably shouldn't have worried. After all, everything is going better than he thought, as the girl said so. Now he thanks her in his thoughts. A little while later, the girl meets the emperor and says that he is in a good mood today, and it seems that the meeting with his brother was successful. The guy replies that he decided to invite him to his home next time, and the young lady says that that's great. Well, she asks if everything went well, to which Ray replies that it did, and thanks her. Elena says that she didn't do anything, and that he tried hard himself. The brunette then says that the lady is also in a good mood today, and that something interesting just happened. The girl asks if it is really that noticeable, after which she asserts that in fact, the atmosphere in the palace has recently changed for the better, and the Duke's condition improved. He said that he wanted to become as wise and cool as the emperor. So the girl is glad he was able to have lunch with him. The man then asks why the lady is so worried about the Duke. It's not just because she's his theology teacher. The girl then thinks a little, and then he claims that they see each other every day, so she got used to him. The emperor asks if this is really true, and maybe she is just shy, to which the girl replies that everything is not, so their Duke is a special child. It's immediately obvious that he'll become an incredibly handsome emperor. The brunette then says he's even a little intimidated by her obsession with appearance. But the girl says that beauty is also important, and Ray is also handsome, so the girl asks if he doesn't take advantage of it. The man asks if she really thinks so, to which the girl replies that of course, and probably because he was constantly told as a child about his incredible appearance. Well, when the guy is silent, the main character asks if he really hasn't been told that, after which she puts her hand on his shoulder, and he says that he's seriously handsome. The guy then says, so that's how it is. And the young lady says that she almost forgot to say the most important thing, and she had things to do. So she won't be able to come there next week. Brand asks what she's talking about, and the young lady replies that she was simply invited to a knight's tournament, after which the emperor says that that's it. He asks if she will go there with a companion, to which the girl replies that yes, but she thinks she'll just be there for a tour, and that's it. The man then asks who invited her, after which the girl replies that it was Rainier, or more precisely, Marquis Werner. A little while later, the emperor sits in his office and wonders when these two managed to become so close, and also what happened between them that he decided to invite her to this tournament. The man also wonders why he doesn't like it so much. A little while later, the girl opens the gift box. Then he sees that there is a dress there. The nanny claims that it is very luxurious, and you only have to look at it. This dress must have been sewn in Vrigg's studio. The main character then only asks why they sent her such a beautiful thing. The woman replies that she will be Mr. Werner's companion, and it's for the best because she was already worried that the mistress would go in her everyday clothes. The main character is surprised after this. The woman asks if she's really planning to go there like that. Elna replies that her uniform is also made of high-quality materials. Ilya then tells Mrs. Elena that she would like to explain something to her, because the Knights tournament, which the Werner family holds every year, is a very important event. Only 100 people will be invited there, and the rest will not be able to attend the tournament. The protagonist then says she thought she'd simply be watching horseback riding enthusiasts. She also doesn't remember anything like that happening in the novel. But the woman insists that in any case, the market is grateful that the lady paid attention to it. Elena wonders if she was really invited to such an important event. Well, she wonders why this is so. A little while later, the maids approach the girl. One of them says that it was not for nothing that she worked in the studio before, and the other asks Lena to trust them because they will do everything at the highest level, after which they dress the girl. A short time later, the main character arrives at the event. She also realizes that this Poland looks like a party, but they told her that there would be nothing special there. So now the girl is wondering why he decided to invite her. The girl understands that wherever she looks, there are aristocrats all around, and she even wonders what they are talking about so cheerfully. But she feels out of place in all this. So then someone turns to the young lady and asks what kind of meeting this is and what she's doing there. It turns out to be Rosalind, and the protagonist doesn't respond that she received the invitation. The blonde tells the girl not to lie. After all, how could a commoner come to such a place? Well, when a blonde is looking at Elena's outfit, then she thinks where she got it from, after which she asks where the girl got this dress. Elena replies that it was given to her as a gift, after which Rosalind says that the girl should not make her laugh and that she stole it from the Duke. The main character asks what her interlocutor is talking about, after which she is about to say something else. But the Marquis comes up to her from behind and says that Madame Elena has come after all. The protagonist then turns to Mr. Rainier, but then she realizes what she just said and apologizes for calling him by his first name. The man takes the lady by the hand and says that it's okay, because from now on she can always address him like that. And he was already starting to worry that Elena wouldn't come. The other ladies are embarrassed, and one of them says the Marquise kissed her hand. Another claims she's very jealous. At this time, the blonde says that the dress suits the lady very well, and it looks like he made the right choice. Well, then Rosalind also turns to Marquis Werner and says what luck this is. The girl introduces herself and asks if he remembers that they met at the banquet, and she's so glad to see him again. Elena wonders if this is the main character's arrival, and if this is really the man who forced her to wash his clothes. After which, the girl thinks it might be time for her to leave them alone, but the Marquis insists he's heard a lot about the lady from Elena, and she said the girl was a very good teacher. Elena understands that he chose a bad time for this, and she doesn't want to be involved. But the Marquis merely pulls the lady toward him and says they'll take their leave, after which he wishes Miss Frances a good time. The main character wonders if he'll really just leave Rosaline behind, after which they leave, and the blonde asks what kind of situation this is, after which she also thinks it's impossible that this commoner could be his companion. The Marquise turns to the young lady and asks if she likes it there. An important fight awaits them this year. The Knights tournament will last 3 days, and today a match will take place between the winner of the previous tournament and the new challenger. Well, this year their candidate is very popular, so they did everything to perfection. At this point, the butler addresses the Marquise, after which he apologizes to Miss Elena, but claims he needs to step away for a bit. The girl replies that everything is fine. She also realizes that people have begun to gather. At this time, several more ladies approach the young lady and apologize, after which they introduce themselves. One of them claims they wanted to introduce themselves earlier, but the lady was with the Marquise, and they didn't want to disturb them. The main character then apologizes and says she simply doesn't know anyone there, so Mr. Werner was with her. One of the girls then comments on how kind the Marquis is, and then asks how they met. Elna claims she was with Lord Arons at a recent banquet when the Marquise approached them, and that's how they met. One of the ladies asks if she's even acquainted with Lord Arons, and these 3 are the Empire's treasures. The Emperor, the Marquis, and the Lord are the most handsome men. The main character then asks what the Emperor looks like, to which one of the ladies claims that she saw him only once when she was little. Even though he stood at a distance, his dark hair immediately caught her eye. Blonde hair has always been a hallmark of the imperial family, but the emperor took after the previous empress, and dark hair is unusual for their empire. He also had blue eyes, but it was so long ago that she doesn't remember exactly. At this time, the main character thinks about blue eyes and dark hair, and also realizes that this is very similar to Ray. At this time, one of the ladies says that it seems like the match is about to begin. It starts, and they ask the lady if she minds if they watch together, to which the girl replies that she does. The ladies then thank her, and they begin to watch. Meanwhile, the other girls look at the main character and ask who this girl is, since the Marquis himself invited her. Another one also says that it's kind of strange because she's never heard of it. At this time, a blonde approaches them and claims that if they are talking about that priest, then she knows a lot about her. The girl is then asked if this is Lady Rosalind. The blonde claims that Elena is training Duke Levi with her. Rosalind understands that the girl is lucky as long as she keeps her secret, and she even decided to deceive the Marquise. Well, when everything comes to light, they will definitely start to despise her, and therefore it's time to end this game. The blonde claims that the priest is actually an ordinary commoner, and it's even surprising that she's there. Well, after this, the ladies just smile and say that it can't be like that after, which the blonde replies that she's not lying because this girl is a commoner. Well, then one of the ladies turns to Rosalind seriously and asks if she understands that now he is walking on very thin ice, and there is no need to create problems by telling fairy tales, because if she had not taken her instead of her maid, the girl wouldn't have gotten there, Rosalind. Then she looks at Elena and thinks that she should be standing there, after which she mentally wonders who this girl is and why everyone treats this ordinary commoner so well. So let the girl wait a little more, and she will definitely bring the earth down on her. A little while later, someone asks Mrs. Elena if she will come next time, if she will be invited to, which the girl replies that of course, and she will be happy to come. At this time, the Marquis also comes up to them and says that he sees that they are having fun there. The other ladies immediately say they'll probably go back. Elena asks why they haven't really gotten to know each other yet. The blonde man insists that Elena seems to have taken a liking to these ladies. The girl replies that they simply share similar interests. She then notices a slight change in the atmosphere among the audience. The man replies that it is because of the participant who will fight in the final match, and the current challenger has won for 10 years in a row. However, due to an accident, he was forced to resign. The main character asks what happened, to which Martin replies that due to family circumstances, they found him a bride, but he married another girl. The engagement with the First Lady was broken off, but she did not appreciate this outcome. There are rumors that it was because of her that the carriage accident happened, but in the end, it was considered a common accident. The carriage fell off a cliff, and the groom's body was never found. It is said that his wife was pregnant at the time of the accident. A lot of time has passed since then, and suddenly he appeared from there, and everyone was surprised. Well, the main character says that this is not all different. After all, this match is a confrontation between the imperial faction and the aristocrats. The Marquis asks what made her think so, to which the girl replies that it's just that the audience seems to be divided into two groups. He also said that the current contender was an unusual person, and if he was so famous, he must have a lot of power. Moreover, it would be enough to undermine the imperial family's authority, which is why everyone was so interested. But the young lady asks if the gentleman predicted the outcome of this confrontation. The blonde man asks why she thinks so. The lady replies that this event was organized by his family. Rainier then says that the lady has a keen eye. He also understands that this girl has exceeded his expectations and even understood his intentions, so he wonders who she is. At that moment, someone shouts that the participants are leaving. The main character looks at one of them, and you understand that this thing is the Lord of the North. The blonde then tells the lady that, as she said, he already knows the outcome of this event, and he would like to see a victory that would bring honor to the imperial family. So he offers to look at their trump card, after which the presenters claim that the opponent is Count Winterhill. The knight Maynard von Arens appears. The main character then asks in shock if it really is him. The girl understands that the atmosphere around him is completely different and wonders if it is really him. Afterwards, the guy smiles at the young lady. One of the ladies asks what he should do since he smiled at her, but the other replies that it wasn't true and wasn't directed at her. The main character realizes that this guy is very popular, after which the girl says that it will be tense, and the blonde replies that it is a dangerous sport. After which they begin to fight, but the spears of two participants break. The referee then cries out that it's a draw and orders new spears to be brought quickly. The main character then asks what will happen if one of them gets injured, to which the Marquis replies that originally knightly tournaments were competitions in which the participants could not defend themselves. They kept wondering if falling off a horse could lead to eternal sleep. Elena said, "How awful!" Then she heard someone announce that the battle was over, and the winner is Lord Metznard von Arnes. The main character then congratulates Maynard. Well, the Marquis doesn't like this very much, after which he pulls the lady closer to him and tells her to be careful. Then he smiles at the knight. Meanwhile, others are asking who will receive the winner's crown this year, and someone says they think it will go to Arnes's mother. So the guy approaches Elena and addresses her. Then one of the people asks why he approached that girl, seeing as his parents are standing in the wrong place. The main character is a little surprised by this and asks Maynard what it is. After which, the guy simply asks if the lady will accept this wreath, but the girl wonders why Mr. Maynard decided to give it to her. At this time, the blonde takes Mrs. Elena by the hand and says that she cannot accept this wreath. At this time, one of the aristocrats asks what is going on there and why the knight is giving it to Mr. Werner's companion. And also, are they both really trying to win her favor? Elena then wonders what's wrong with them. And this is really too strange because doesn't this usually happen to the main characters? But at that very moment, the girl hears someone scream that Count Winterhill has fallen from his horse. Then someone else shouts that he's seriously wounded. The main character looking at this understands that he can lose a lot of red liquid. If this is a very serious wound, then the outcome could be even worse. Therefore, the girl understands that she must help him, after which she runs to him. The girl turns to the doctor and asks about the Count's condition, to which he replies that he has a deep wound, but he has already given him a healing potion. He also asks who the lady is, to which she replies that she is the sacred face, and then turns to the Count and asks him to open his eyes. One of the aristocrats then says that he's unconscious and looks like he's been badly hurt. Someone else asks if there's a way to stop the bleeding. The main character then turns to the Lord and the Marquise and asks to take her to the Palace of Dawn if she falls unconscious. The girl understands that she has no time to think, so she needs to help the Count, after which she begins to use her power. And the aristocrats say that the wounds are healing. One of them asks if this priest is Duke Levi's teacher, and if she has amazing abilities. The main character then says that, thank God, it seems the Count has come to his senses, but then the girl begins to feel unwell. And she also wonders if she has overdone it because her eyes are darkening, and the lady does not understand how this happened because she just wanted a quiet life. A little while later, the Count begins to wake up. He also hears someone calling him, and he wonders if it could really be Sylvia. Well, he also understands that it can't be her, but he wonders who it is then. After which, the Count fully awakens and rises from his bed, and the butler asks the gentleman if he is all right. The gentleman then inquires as to where he is, to which the butler replies that he is in the imperial palace, and after the night's tournament, the gentleman fell from his horse. Well, the man asks where his wounds are, to which his interlocutor notes that the gentleman was healed by a priestess. The Count asks if the servant remembers what she looked like, after which he replies that he doesn't really remember, because he only remembers her long silver hair. The Count understands that without a doubt she had golden eyes, after which he turns to Gray and tells him to unpack his things, because they will remain in the capital for some time. The man understands that the carriage Celia was riding in was never found, but what if she suddenly survived, and she was able to safely give birth to her child? Shortly before the accident, he received a letter from his ex-fiancée, where she confessed that she had set everything up, and that this sin could not be hidden even by plunging into eternal sleep. That's why the man thinks that maybe his child really does live somewhere now. At this time, the main character opens her eyes and thinks where she is now, but then realizes that this is the Palace of Dawn. The Duke turns to the young lady and asks how she feels, and whether she knows how much sleep she has had since he was so worried. The nanny also turns to their mistress Elena and asks how she is feeling. The girl replies that everything is fine with her, after which the woman says that the Duke was very worried about her. Elena then asks the Duke if he sees that she is now completely fine, but the guy is interested in where, because she slept for 2 whole days. Believe also hands over a potion from his older brother and claims that he said his teacher lost consciousness while healing a person. Well, they're very effective, so let the girl drink it quickly. They'll also bring her something to eat soon, but for now, let the girl rest. Elijah tells the Duke that now he too will be able to sleep peacefully, but he only becomes embarrassed and claims that he never said that he couldn't sleep. Elena thinks that it is good when in difficult times there are people ready to come to the rescue, and it seemed to her that the emperor was cold and also unapproachable, but he turned out to be kinder than she thought. So the girl wonders if everything is okay with him and Rosalind. And besides, she wouldn't want to continue such a relationship with the Marquise in the night, and she never wanted to take Rosalind's place. Then the girl also remembers Ray, after which he wonders why she suddenly remembered him. The emperor is training at this time. He also recalls how a little while ago the butler approached him and claimed that there had been an incident at the night's tournament as the Count of Winterhill had fallen from his horse. Luckily, Mrs. Elena was there and gave him first aid, but due to her poor health, she was later taken to the Palace of Dawn. The man realizes this news has thrown him off balance, and he's not himself. A short time later, he returns to the forest where he met the young lady and realizes he's finally back there. After all, they haven't seen each other since that incident. And that's certainly logical. Well, at that very moment, the main character turns to Ray, after which they apologize for keeping them waiting and also claim that they haven't seen each other for so long and ask if he's okay. The brunette claims he heard about her poor health and asks how she's feeling now. Elena replies that even he knows, then insists that everything is fine now, because she's more alive than anyone else. And the Duke agreed to reschedule a few classes, and she also received a restorative potion from His Majesty, so everything is fine. And giving such a valuable item to a mere saint is not like him. So apparently, His Majesty has his good sides. The girl also asks why the guy was waiting for her there, whether he knew about these incidents, and whether she might not have come today. The variant then says that, who knows, maybe she'd come, and he didn't want to keep her waiting. The protagonist thinks his words will cut her to the core. At this time, the brunette asks the girl if she is eating well, and replies that she ate bread and stew today. The emperor asks if that's all, and now he understands why she's so small. Elena gets angry after this, saying that she may look younger than her age, but she's already an adult. Then the young lady tells Ray not to worry, because unlike her, he needs to eat well to be big and strong. The girl also asks if knights always have such powerful bodies, to which the guy replies that in general, yes. But when the main character looks at his face, she wonders why he turned so red. At this point, the brunette asks if she could remove her hand, after which the girl apologizes and says that it was an accident. The emperor asks if she's the only man who behaves like this, to which the lady replies that of course not, and that she's simply assessing them. The girl also asks if anything happened while they were apart, and also whether he's injured anywhere. Then she notices that he has some wounds on his cheek and under his lips, and then she reaches out to touch the wounds. But then the girl becomes a little embarrassed and wonders what's wrong with her, since she's back to her old ways. Elena wonders why her heart is pounding so much. The brunette asks the lady if something's wrong, and she replies that the atmosphere around him is simply different today, almost bland. The guy is a little surprised, and the main character asks what kind of reaction this is, and whether he really has a loved one, to which he replies that this is not so. The girl then asks if this is unrequited love, to which he replies that no, he just doesn't do anything. Then the young lady sits down on the floor and says that something exciting had happened to her in her life, but so far, only strange rumors have been spread around her. Ray asks if this is because of what happened at the tournament, to which the girl replies that she could not have imagined that those two would behave like that. The emperor then asks if she feels anything for them, to which the girl replies that her feeling cannot be called love. And of course she is grateful to them for their kindness. But this is something else, because when you love someone, you think about them all the time and want to spend as much time with them as possible. For her, this is true love, after which the girl asks what Ray thinks. He wonders if this is true, then he really does love Elena. A short time later, the man enters the wardrobe, and the maid greets him. They also tell His Majesty to choose whatever he pleases. The man then turns to one of the servants and asks him to prepare clothes for the Tidar festival. The butler agrees, and the emperor adds that it should be something simple. A while ago, a young lady asked Ray if he wanted to go to the Tidar festival. The man inquired if it was an annual event held on the island. Well, the young lady replied that she too would like to go there, although going alone had been a bit of a nuisance growing up. The brunette then asked if she really wanted to go with him. Elna replies that of course they are not friends, after which the girl also asks if she can call them that. Ray replies that of course, and suggests going to the festival the girl had suggested meeting at the palace gates. And now the man is heading towards the palace gates and realizes that he has heard about this festival, but has never been there. And more accurately, this will be his first such walk. A little while later, he meets the girl, and she apologizes for the wait. The man says that it's okay. He just came up to her, and the main character says that, thank God. And she's also not used to seeing him in different clothes, so he looks even cooler than usual. The emperor says that it suits her very well too, after which the main character asks if he really said something, but the brunette just moves on and suggests that they go. A short time later, they're already in a carriage. The girl also haggles with the coachman, and a short time later, they're already approaching the point from which they can depart for the island, after which they take a boat. The main character says it's the first time she's gone anywhere since moving, to which the brunette agrees, and the young lady says it's especially with him, after which she asks if it's okay that she took him out on a day off, since he probably has a lot to do. Ray claims that he won't say that he is very busy and is happy to spend this day with hers. The young lady then gets a little embarrassed, but she understands that the guy did say that he has a loved one, so she hopes that he won't understand it's wrong. A little while later, they arrive at the festival, and the girl claims that it is more crowded than she imagined. Wherever you look, there are a lot of people around, after which someone almost touches the girl. Well, the brunette pushes her away and asks if everything is okay. Then he notices that he grabbed her shoulder, and he apologizes for doing it so abruptly. The girl says that it's okay, he just wanted to help her. The boy realizes he shouldn't touch her so thoughtlessly. A little while later, they're already walking through the festival, and the young lady shows him the fruits that can only be found there. They also try local dishes, and the young lady asks him how he is, to which His Majesty replies, "The states are quite good." A little while later, the main character claims that it was so much fun that she didn't even notice how time flew by. It wasn't as if they had entered another world. The emperor also smiled, and the young lady realized that this truly was so unusual for her. At first it was hard for her to be Elena, but then she got used to it and met new people. Although this is not her whole life, now the girl apologizes to Ray for such a sudden question and wonders what he will do if they can't see each other one day and whether he will miss her. Elena understands that she arrived in this world by accident and what will happen when she is no longer there. The brunette then claims that no, he will find it her, and he will search for her until she appears before him again. The main character says that although these are just words, she is happy, after which she realizes that there was concern in his intonation. And although she doesn't understand why he treats her this way, she's very happy to see him. A short time later, they're already heading home, and the main character asks if he'd be willing to go for a walk again next time. The brunette says yes, and the girl asks if this can be considered a promise. But when the two approach the pier, then the young lady doesn't see a single boat there, after which she turns to one of the men and asks where all the boats have gone. The stranger replies that the last boat has already sailed, but the girl says that it is not night yet, to which he replies that the boats stop running after sunset, so before it gets too dark, they better find a hotel. The main character asks how this is possible, and the man claims that there are hotels in that direction, and they can look for rooms there, and they will also be lucky if they find a free room. The brunette then tells the young lady there are no options, and she'll have to go. The main character is then shocked, wondering if she'll really be with Ray that night. A little while later, the girl shocked asks if there's really only one room left. The girl also says that this is all they have, after which the two enter the room. And the main character looks around and thinks that this can't be, and what should they do because there's only one bed there. At this time, the brunette turns to Elena, and she shudders and asks what is wrong. The girl also thinks that maybe she's worrying for nothing, and she looks at the brunette's face and realizes that he looks so focused, but she needs to stay calm. A little while later, the brunette sits on the bed and thinks whether they will really sleep together in the same bedroom. It would be better if he leaves there. At that very moment, the main character comes out of the bath and says that she feels much better, after which she turns to the brunette and tells him to take a bath too. Well, when the guy is silent, the lady asks what is going on and whether he still hasn't taken off his robe. The emperor replies that he just wanted to get some fresh air outside, and the girl asks if he really wants to do it right now. And also, is he really going to sleep on the street? And she understands that knights are not surprised by this, but still this is too much, after which the young lady tells him to undress. But then she realizes what she just said and corrects herself, telling him to take a bath and go to bed. A little while later, the two are lying in bed, and the main character asks him if he's not too cramped. Ray replies that everything is fine, and she doesn't need to worry about it. The young lady then thinks that they are so close to each other, and maybe the brunette is worried about her. After which the main character turns to Ray and asks if he has slept with anyone like this before. The guy then asks if she really means he spent the night with someone, to which the girl replies that he shouldn't think anything unnecessary because she was simply curious whether he had been in the same situation. The emperor replies that not once did the young lady say that she has the same, after which the guy states that he is glad to be her first. And she smiles. The main character thinks that if he continues like this, she might get it all wrong. After which she turns around and suggests they go to bed. The girl realizes this isn't the first time she's seen Ray smile, but her heart still beats just as fast. A little while later, the girl falls asleep, and the brunette gets out of bed and says that he feels the same way, but it doesn't seem out of the ordinary. However, he still can't calm down. After which the guy extends his hand to the young ladies, then turns and leaves. He also understands that if the girl believes in him so much, he can't afford to cross the line. The next morning, the main character wakes up, after which she turns around and wonders where Ray is. But then she sees a guy after a shower, and he asks if she's awake yet. She replies yes, and just now. The brunette claims that she was sleeping so soundly that he decided not to wake her, despite you being embarrassed. And she understands that she has. It's so overwhelming. A little while later, the two are already heading towards the boats and heading back. The main character then thanks the brunette and says that she had a lot of fun, to which he agrees. He also suggests taking a walk around the center next time, to which the girl agrees, and states that she will look forward to the next meeting. And he'll also choose a good spot. Then they say goodbye, and the young lady thinks that even though they had to stay there overnight, it was still fun. After which she thinks where it would be better to go on a date next time, but then she immediately gets embarrassed and thinks what she is saying because she and Ray are friends. And he has a lover, after which the girl thinks it's all because of his ambiguous words. Then the main character enters the Duke's estate, and the maid says that the mistress has arrived just in time because a guest has arrived. The girl looking at him understands that it was Count Winterhill after all, and she wondered what business he might have with her. A little while later, someone at the palace asked what the emergency meeting was about, and yet it was a gathering of representatives of the upper class. Rainier then says that they haven't seen Maynard for a long time, and everything is the same as at the tournament. The blonde also says that the guy has such a serious look, as if he is looking at an enemy, but the knight remains silent, and his interlocutor thinks how complicated everything is. A little while later, His Majesty enters the room and thanks everyone for coming, despite the sudden summons. He also turns to the Marquis of Pullman and proposes to begin with what he agrees to, and then states that the reason for today's meeting is that a letter was received by pigeon post this morning containing fairly reliable information. The brunette then asks where the pigeon is from, to which the man replies that it's from the Northern District and originates in Winterhill County. Their intelligence has confirmed suspicious activity in their territory. Brunette realizes that the lands of Winterhill are so devastated that growing grain seems impossible, and the reason why they are still able to maintain their power. This is because there is the only source of winter iron there, which is many times stronger than usual. Due to their high military strength and resources, the Winterhills have been feared throughout history, but for the past 20 years, the Lord of Winterhill has not shown himself in public. And the man understands that his appearance was the source of that suspicious activity, but it can't be a simple coincidence. So he suggests the butler continue his report. At this time, the main character approaches the Count and apologizes for making him wait as she just returned. The man replies that it's not a big deal, because after all, he suddenly appeared on her doorstep and her daughter asks if he has business. The man claims that she healed him at a knight's tournament, and he came to thank the lady for this because she saved him. The main character then says that she didn't do anything like that. My man turns to Elna again and says that maybe this is a little unexpected, but has she ever heard of a girl named Sylvia? Elena replies that she has never heard of such a thing before, and the man says that that is how it is, after which the young lady asks if he is really looking for this girl, because if so, then she apologizes for not being able to help. The Count claims that he simply decided to ask, so the lady should not worry about it. After which, he also understands that this saint up close is even more similar to Sylvia, whom he loved so much. The man also recalls how the girl he was engaged to cried out, "Does he really want to break off the engagement because of some commoner?" Because she would never accept it. And he won't tolerate such humiliation. The man then realizes that if he hadn't been with Sylvia, that horror wouldn't have happened. Her plunge into eternal sleep at the hands of his ex-fiancé. The bride's family was influential enough that the incident was hushed up, and he felt he had to take revenge, so he declared war on them, but the imperial family called it off, and he couldn't do anything about Sylvia's eternal slumber. The man's only hope was to find his daughter, but his efforts were futile, and it was ridiculous that he never found her. 20 years passed, and when he began to come to his senses, he was finally able to find her. Then this girl appeared. The man asked if the girl could tell him about her family, and she wondered why the Count wanted to know about it. The man asks how her parents or siblings are. The girl replies that she doesn't have a family because she grew up alone, and the man asks where she's from. Elena replies that she barely remembers her childhood and was told that she was immediately given to the temple after birth. The young lady is also wondering what she should do and whether she might have anything else to say, after which she claims that if you ask the church, they'll tell you something. The man then replies that the church does indeed accept and raise orphans, so it's only natural that the child would eventually become a priest. He also asks the lady if he can ask her one more question, and looking at the girl's hands, he asks if she is a commoner. The girl is then surprised and screams at him, asking what he is talking about. But the man claims that from her reaction, he can tell that he was not mistaken. The young lady is then surprised, and the count apologizes if he frightened her, because in fact she was a saint and a high-ranking commoner, and I look like her. Elena asks if this is the Sylvia he spoke about earlier, to which the man replies that this is true, and she like the girl possessed the ability to heal Elena, then says that means besides her, there was already a saint from a commoner who possessed healing abilities. The man also realizes that the barely noticeable golden eyes, when she uses her holy power, are very similar to the eyes of his wife. The count recalls how his wife said that their child would inherit the best from them, but she also wanted her eyes to be like his and hers. It's a cool deep gray and a kind loving gold. It would be wonderful if a girl were born with both colors. The man then realizes that he would very much like his wife's wish to come true. The emperor meanwhile asks, "What's so suspicious about Winterhell?" and asks for a detailed report. The servant then says that three main features are reported. First, there's the monster hunt, which takes place every spring. As the emperor already knows, the county is located near a zone inhabited by evil spirits, and the residents have to get rid of them before summer, because the monsters become more numerous at that time of year. Secondly, the fact that territorial troops created to exterminate monsters have been spotted in the citadel, for training purposes of course, but this training has nothing to do with fighting evil spirits, and it seems their goal is to start a war. One of the aristocrats then asks in shock if they're really preparing to attack, and if what they were so worried about has come true. At this time, the brunette suggests continuing the report, and asks what about point 3, after which the servant claims that the count has been purchasing food in huge quantities for the past 3 years, and in total, it came to about 2 million kilograms. The blonde then wonders what kind of trading group this is that makes incredible deals and doesn't report them. And he might seem a little arrogant, but he thinks she belongs to the Werner family. After which the aristocrats are surprised and wonder why this is the Marquise's family, to which the blonde replies that if he had known what they needed, he would of course have refused, and he agreed to the deal only because it was about food supplies for residents affected by the crop failure. But the knight claims that 2 million is a very large figure, to which his interlocutor claims that the greatest damage was done to the county of Winterhill, and perhaps they did business not only with them, but also with other trading houses. Last for 3 years, this preparation takes time, and the man asks if they are really trying to start a rebellion. The brunette asks what the Marquis of Pullman thinks about this, after which the man replies that, in his opinion, this is not a problem that should be treated lightly. If they give them permission, they will immediately conduct a further investigation, and if they are really preparing for an attack, they should reduce the amount of hardware they sell. One of the aristocrats also approaches His Majesty and asks how he views the idea of imposing sanctions on the count. But another says that there is no need to rush, because an uprising is inevitable, and if they act thoughtlessly, they might find themselves at a disadvantage. Then one of them asks if they should simply stay on the sidelines, but the emperor suggests that they stop, and then ask if anyone wants to say anything else. The blonde man wonders how about Togo, making sure he can't leave the capital, and he will look for opportunities while there is still time, because if the count cannot return to his territory, the plan will be thwarted. He also thinks that this will prevent the situation from getting worse. Then the other aristocrats agree, and His Majesty, noticing the knight's reaction, asks if something is wrong. The guy then claims that in truth, he saw him in the Palace of Dawn before coming there. He also came to see Duke Levi's teacher, and is worried that he might have some other plans. The emperor then wonders if the count really has come to visit Elena. He then asserts that he thinks it would be a good idea to increase the number of guards just in case. The man approaches Mr. Bulliman and claims that he is in charge of the volume of iron production and trade in the county, and that he should also begin an investigation into the Count's henchmen in this territory. Brunette understands that the Count can challenge the power of the imperial family, although this has already been said, but this time everything is different. A short time later, the knight approaches the Marquise and says he's curious about something. The blonde then comments that he's looking at him with such hostility and wonders if something is wrong, and whether he cares about the deal with the Count of Winterhill or his relationship with Elena. The knight then says that he used to envy the Marquis, but soon realized something. After all, the more a person is forced into a framework, the more relaxed he becomes. After which, Maynard asks if his feelings for Elena are real. After all, if this is nothing more than a joke to him, he asks her to stop right now. After all, this is his advice, and even a friendly request. But the Marquise then asks, what if he says that he does not want to stop, even if it does not matter to him? The knight replies that he will not forgive him for this, and Rainier wonders if what is happening is really just a game for him. And the knight must have felt it, because there is something in this lady that no one else has. And he wants to get this diamond and make her his own. The knight is surprised after this, and he also says that Mrs. Elena is not a thing, so he should stop right now. Well, the blonde then apologizes and says that if he doesn't get what he wants, he feels dissatisfied. And he doesn't care what the guy says. The knight then says that's how things really are. And in that case, he shouldn't worry. After all, no matter how hard he tries, the girl will not play by these rules, and the mistress will quickly see through someone like him. The guy also claims that he's going to confess his feelings to her because he truly values her. The blonde then realizes that when Maynard is lost in his dreams, he doesn't notice anything around him, and this determination adds excitement. So the blonde says that it seems he has problems. After all, the guy's words make his heart beat faster, and nothing has been decided yet to believe the battle has not begun. But he understands that Elena will definitely be his. A little while later, the main character sits and rewrites the book, and also thinks about what it is. And how is she supposed to cope with so much? The girl wonders how long this horror will last, but then she hears someone knocking and approaching the door, and she wonders if it's Rosalind again. After which the girl insists she's not finished yet, and the blonde man wonders if there is really something more important than him, after which he also says that he is glad to meet them, which makes the girl a little surprised, and asks why Mr. Rainier is there, and why he is in her room. The man claims that when he admitted that he wanted to meet the lady, the services told him where to go, and he also asked if the lady had a minute. The girl understands that they met at the knight's tournament, but she doesn't understand why he came now. The guy simply says that this is what her room looks like, and he's a little surprised, as he thought it would be nicer. The Marquis also asks if she meant these notes when she said she didn't finish, to which the girl replies that she was asked to. The blonde then asks who did it, to which the young lady replies that it was Rosaline. But then she corrects herself and says that nothing of the sort, and she wonders why he decided to visit her. Rainier asks if the lady is unknown. "Hey, girl," she asks, "is he really talking about that situation that happened at the tournament?" After which, the guy says that this is great, and apparently smart thoughts are still slipping through her mind, and if the lady says that she doesn't understand. This deeply hurts him. The guy then asks if she's had dinner yet, to which she replies that she has, and the blonde man suggests they go to a nice restaurant, just the two of them. He also claims the table is already reserved, so he won't accept refusals, but the young lady says that's too sudden. The blonde man insists that if they leave now, they'll most likely make it. At this time, Rosalind is watching everything and thinks that this thing cannot happen, because she came to pick up the records, but what she saw surprised her, because the girl was required to just sit in her room and look after her. She seduces the Marquis and goes to dinner with him. The girl also understands that Werner is a family that values status, and if the Marquis had known the girl was a commoner, he would have brushed her off without a second thought. But this will happen very soon, and then the world will open its eyes. A little while later, the two are in a restaurant, and the Marquis asks how the lady is eating. The girl replies that it is very tasty, and the blonde says that thank God, because he rented everything there. The main character wonders if he really bought out an entire floor just for dinner. Rainier loves to socialize and interact with people, but he values alone time just as much. When no one is around, he drinks alcohol alone. And in any case, there were such scenes in the novel. The guy says that if the lady had refused, He would have simply left, and the main character asks what he's talking about since he rented the place. The Marquise replies that he does not like being alone, and that it instills a feeling of uselessness. Well, the main character then says that he also values time spent alone with himself and enjoys alcohol in deep loneliness. The guy then asks how she knows about this, after which the lady says that sometimes everyone needs to be alone with themselves. And isn't that true? So she thought Mr. Rainier thought the same thing, and that's why she said it. Now the girl doesn't understand what to do since she just blurted it out, and what will happen if he thinks she's following him. The girl realizes she remembers every detail of his life, because he was her favorite character. Meanwhile, the Marquise says that Madame Elena pretended to be completely uninterested in him, but in reality, it seems quite the opposite. And he is not that kind of person, and they have never had a personal conversation. So he asks if the lady tried to find out about his other side, to which the girl replies that not at all. And in this case, the guy claims that he has a question, because there are rumors that recently she has become quite close to the Count, and he is interested in whether this is true. He also tells the lady to answer very carefully. The girl wonders if she's really angered him. And after all, Rainier is from the Imperial faction, so of course he's suspicious of her. And the girl says that the Count came to thank her for curing him at the knight's tournament. She actually just made a proposal about him, so she asks him to stop doubting her, after which the guy apologizes and says that he didn't want to scare her. And he was simply surprised that for the first time in a long time, someone saw right through him. But the lady managed to do it so easily, after which he says that, in this case, there is no point in him hiding. And the blonde guy asks who she is. The young lady then wonders what she should do, since it seems she's said too much, and the guy insists that this is truly unusual. After all, the lady has such insight and you wouldn't think she's a commoner. The girl then asks what a commoner means, and the guy replies that she doesn't have to pretend, because you can't fool him, and he has long noticed that she is a commoner. The main character is surprised and wonders if he really knew from the very beginning, but the blonde insists that he must have missed something, and it's also unfair that she saw him like this. Well, if she belongs to him, then the problem will be solved, so he asks if Mistress Elena agrees. A little while later, the girl wonders what it was Rainier has changed so much. The girl thought he was a bright, sweet romantic, but he doesn't understand why he behaves like a dark character, and why it might be much more pleasant to watch his favorite heroes from the outside. She needs someone who will listen and show kindness like Ray, but thinking about this guy makes the girl embarrassed. At this time, the Duke turns to her and asks if the girl is listening to him, after which she asks for forgiveness, and asks what Levi was talking about, to which he replies that from this day on he will begin fencing lessons, and he can't wait to become as strong a swordsman as his brother. The girl then says that's it, and asks the gentleman if everything will be okay. After all, his injury had only recently healed. Levi replies that there's no need to worry about that, as Hugo has found the perfect teacher for him. The protagonist then asks who it is, but at that moment, the maid informs her that the master teacher has already arrived. The boy bows before the Duke and says that it is an honor for him to meet him, after which he also introduces himself and states that he will be in charge of fencing lessons. Much later, they are already sitting down at the table, and their Duke asks if Brother May will really be his fencing teacher. The guy replies that, to be honest, it was the Chamberlain's will, and he said that he was entrusting this matter to him. The main character at this time realizes that she thought a lot about who the new teacher would be, and it turned out to be Maynard. And if so, then she is calm because the guy has known Levi for a long time. At this point, the blonde turns to his brother and asks why he recently addressed him so respectfully, since he previously called him simply Levi. The knight replies that it's because he arrived there just like the fencing instructor, and he will teach the Duke only the basics, but it is necessary to know fencing etiquette, after which the guy says that it's cool. The main character says that perhaps she should leave since they're going to discuss their studies, as she'll only get in the way. But the knight replies that it's not worth it, and if the lady isn't busy right now, she should stay with them. Besides, he has a favor to ask of her. The main character thinks that she is interested in what his request is, but why does the guy claim that classes will begin tomorrow, and they will be held daily from sunrise? Aback by this, and asks if it is really that early, to which his interlocutor notes that this is the time of day when he is most active and has the most mana. The girl turns to the knight and asks him what his request was. He then says he'd like her to attend the classes. The main character wonders if this is just in case she gets injured. Surely then she'll feel better too. After which she says she understands, and if she doesn't interfere, they'll maintain this order. The knight then thanks her and says that if he doesn't interfere, he too is a little embarrassed. The main character asks if there is something on her face, and then the guy says that there is nothing, and he is also looking forward to tomorrow's class. The Duke then turns to his brother and says his face is flushed, to which he replies he's just hot, and asks if he can open the window. Meanwhile, in the Emperor's office, His Majesty says he heard Levi's fencing lessons will begin soon. The butler replies that Lord Maynard will be held responsible for them. His Majesty asks if his brother might have a second seizure, to which the servant replies that Priestess Elena will be present at the classes to check on the condition. The man then asks if this is his brother's teacher, to which the servant replies that it is true. The Emperor also realizes that the girl had previously asked him what kind of girls Maynard liked, even though she had said she was simply gathering information. Well, he thinks that once classes start, they will spend more time together. And if that happens, they might become closer. The Emperor also asks Hugo what the girl has been doing lately, and a man replies that there haven't been any significant changes in training. But His Majesty says he wants to know something. Besides that maybe something has changed in her actions, or maybe she's been seeing someone. After all, she's a shill for the imperial temple in the capital, and he doesn't want to inconvenience her. The butler then says that the Marquis visited the Palace of Dawn and took the ladies to dinner. The Emperor immediately rises from his seat and asks if Rainier was really at the Palace of Dawn. The young man also understands that the Marquis is always attracted to different girls, but has he really chosen Helena this time? So the Emperor wonders how much has piled up. A week has passed since Maynard began teaching the classes, and Levi continues to train. There have been no seizures, and he seems happy, so the girl thinks that, judging by the book, the test subject never existed. From the protagonist's point of view, the Duke was complex, and perhaps what happened in the novel does not necessarily have to be repeated in reality. Or perhaps there are things that only she can change. The Duke at this time finishes 100 blows with his sword and asks if Elena saw. The girl replies that, of course, Levi even has a talent for fencing Maynard. Then asks Lady Elena later if she thinks so, since the Duke has excellent movement and seems to be slowly overcoming his fear of weapons. But at that very moment, someone turns to the Lord. Arnisu claims that he has urgent news from the mansion because the Countess fell down the stairs and is unconscious and is not coming to. After this, the guy in shock asks if his mother is unconscious, and the main character thinks how terrible this is. After which, he puts his hand on the knight's shoulder and tells him to calm down, because she will go with them, and her power should somehow help. So they immediately go to the mansion, and she asks to prepare a carriage. The girl realizes she won't run away anymore, and that there's something only she can do. At first, the lady thought it would be better to preserve the book's plot. After all, the bonds she'd created were special, and the lady realized that this could lead to a positive outcome, so she would try again. A little while later, they immediately run into the estate, and the guy immediately asks how his mother is. But the maid claims she recently had to feeding a high-ranking official, and she couldn't do anything. The young lady then tells them to wait, as she'll try to help her, and asks where the Countess is now. The knight then says that this is a saint from the Palace of Dawn, named Elena, and the maid asks if this is the girl who cured Count Winterhill at the knight's tournament, after which she asks to pass, because the Countess is in the back room. When the guy sees his mother, he is very worried about her, and the main character understands that the woman is weakening, but not all is lost, and to cure her, her strength will be needed. But this is not comparable to that time, so the girl thinks if she can do it. And then she lay unconscious for 2 whole days. And what if he used too much power? She would never wake up again and wouldn't be able to see Ray. Well, then the girl hears the knight asking what he should do if she leaves. And if he'd been more attentive, this wouldn't have happened. He then tells Ms. Elena that he's scared, and it's all because of him. After which, the main character says, there's no need to worry. After all, with the help of her powers, she will be able to bring the Countess to her senses. And then the girl uses it, and the guy understands that this is an incredible healing power. He also tells Mrs. Elena not to overexert herself because everything is fine, and she's already done everything. Then the guy sees his mother come to her senses and is surprised. She also tells her son not to disturb her, saying she's fine. The boy immediately cries out to the maid and asks if she can call the family, to which she agrees. The boy then turns to Mistress Elena and thanks her, as it's thanks to her that his mother survived. So the guy looks at the girl's face and is a little surprised to see tears on it. He then asks what's wrong and if she's overworked herself. The main character then asks if something really happened, and the guy replies that she was just crying. Elena asks him what he's talking about, and she wouldn't say she's feeling unwell, but he insists he thinks she needs to rest, so he asks him to prepare the room. Elena then wonders what it is and why she's crying. When she used her power, something fell from her, and it felt like water spilling out of a glass. Even though it was her decision, the girl wonders if she can continue to use this power. A short time later, the lady awakens. Well, she thinks how strange it is, and also why she is crying, but she understands that she got enough sleep, and also, her health has improved. The girl understands that it seems like it's already evening, and she has a meeting planned with Ray, so she needs to return quickly because he is waiting. The girl goes out into the hallway and wonders where the Countess's bedroom is. Then someone turns to Mistress Elena and says she's been looking for her. The girl asks if it's Mistress Margaret, and the woman claims she needed to meet the lady, and then asks how she's feeling. Elena replies that she feels better after sleeping, apologizes, and asks if the Countess is awake yet. The maid tells the lady to follow her, saying that her mistress wishes to speak with her and that she wants to thank her personally. But Elena replies that she didn't do anything wrong. Afterwards, they enter one of the rooms, and the girl sees the entire family there. She approaches Maynard and asks who these people are, to which he replies that they are his family and that they said they wanted to meet her. After which the young lady apologizes for such a sudden visit. Well then, someone comes up to her and asks to be allowed to introduce himself, after which he claims that he is Count Antoine von Arnis, and he wishes to thank the lady with all his heart for saving his wife's life. The Arns family will never forget her kindness. The girl replies that it is an honor to help her mistress, after which the two knights lords thank the lady for saving their mother. The woman sitting on the bed then tells the two to calm down, and didn't she tell them that they need to be more calm with girls? The woman also turns to their saintly mistress and thanks her for saving her life. The protagonist then says that her mistress has regained consciousness, after which the woman claims she feels so well for the first time. And the young lady understands that using her powers was the right decision, because otherwise the Countess could have become disabled, and this would have had a negative impact on both her life and Maynard's. After which the woman says she'd like to thank the lady and wonders if she could stay for dinner. The young lady thanks them but insists she needs to go back. However, at that very moment, her stomach rumbles. One of the knight's brothers asks if the lady is hungry. The other says she needs to eat something quickly, so he suggests they go. Elena understands she's spent too much energy and feels awkward, refusing. So she has a little time and everything will be fine. A little while later, the girl is already at the table. One of the brothers turns to the other and suggests they go buy their mother a shawl, to which the other agrees, saying she shouldn't get cold. The man then hands his wife some vegetable soup and says that it is very healthy, after which the woman thanks him, and the main character understands that Maynard has a very close-knit family, and it is so warm and cozy there. Then one of the knight's brothers asks if this is the saint their brother is faithful to. The other replies, perhaps, and she is their brother's lady, which doesn't bother the protagonists. Maynard then tells Ignis and Fettel to stop their strange conversations as they are in front of a saint. Their father also tells the two to stop as the lady is uncomfortable. The knight then turns to Lady Helen and asks for forgiveness, and also asks if she will have a little more time. Afterwards, the two go out into the garden, and the main character remarks that it's a bit hot there. The girl realizes the knight is dressed so formally and doesn't understand what he wants to talk about. The boy then asks the lady for forgiveness for his brother's behavior, but the girl replies that it's not worth it, because she was having fun, and they have a very good family, and he's envious since she doesn't have one. Maynard asks if this is true, to which the lady replies that yes, and she grew up in the temple. The knight then says, that's it, just as he couldn't have imagined. The main character insists that everything is fine, as she's used to being alone. The boy then explains what his younger brother said and apologizes for not being able to explain everything beforehand. After all, the presentation of the wreath signifies a knightly oath to the lady, and the lady is the knight's eternal partner, and he asks forgiveness for being in such a hurry and for not telling her anything. Now he's ready to make a formal proposal and inquire whether Mistress Elena will become his partner, that is, his lady. The girl is then wondering what to do. After all, she was caught off guard at the knight's tournament, and nothing is clear with Rainier, and now even Maynard has started acting strange. And if he keeps looking at her like that, she won't be able to say anything. The guy then says they went to a pastry shop together earlier and asks if she remembers. The girl claims she thought they'd become friends back then, so she can't give him a definitive answer now. The guy then says that he understood Mrs. Elena and asks her to forgive him for causing her inconvenience, but he still has a chance, and today he was in a big hurry. As for the answer, she can give it when she's determined how she feels, because it can wait. The protagonist understands that Maynard noticed her confusion, and that in reality, he's just as good a person as he is in the book, so she thanks him. A short time later, Ray apologizes for grabbing the girl so suddenly, and she replies that everything is fine, after which the brunette simply looks at her with a gloomy expression. He realizes he did something out of character. He'd been worried when he heard the girl would be attending fencing lessons. Now he was simply worried about Elena, afraid her feelings might change. After that, the guy simply distanced himself from the young lady, wondering if he was angry because she was late. The brunette then replies no and asks where she gets that idea from, to which the woman replies that his face suddenly darkens, and she asks if she can ask what his loved one looks like. The guy then asks why she's asking, and the woman replies that it's to lift his spirits. After all, when you think about something like that, it immediately becomes better. The guy then says that honestly he doesn't know, and right now he doesn't have much of an opportunity to get closer to her. The young lady then says that this is how she thinks about who his beloved is. The girl also understands that if Ray had been standing before her at that moment, instead of Maynard, she would have given a definite answer. And the bet, after all, is a knight's, and he will one day swear allegiance to some girl. But then the young lady realizes she shouldn't think about it, after which she claims she heard somewhere that honesty is the most important thing in relationships, and that if she were to speak frankly, Ray would definitely understand the guy, then asks why exactly. To which the young lady replies that she can trust him, but understands that this is not what she wanted to say, and thinks why she cannot tell him directly. A short time later, the girl is already walking through the estate and realizes that they ended up having an awkward separation. She also wonders why she couldn't say what she wanted, but a little while later, she sees something lying under her door. There's also a note thanking Ms. Elena for healing his mother that day. This has nothing to do with what they discussed today, so he asks her to accept the gift not feeling used. And the main character taking the gift in her hands realizes that Maynard is a very good man, but she can't get Ray out of her mind. A short time later, the girl heads out into the rain to meet Ray. She also apologizes for keeping him waiting and for simply being overwhelmed by her studies. She never imagined the downpour would start so suddenly. The guy replies that if it's because of his studies, then there's nothing he can do. The main character thanks him and talks about his medical practice. The girl also realizes she feels awkward, and maybe it's because they recently had a strange breakup, and today she's so clumsy. But then she says there doesn't seem to be any serious damage, and the weather is bad today, so maybe they should take a break. But then the guy asks if he really has to be injured, and if they can't just be together for no reason. The main character, looking at his face, is surprised, and understands that she thought he did not want to spend time with her, but apparently this is not the case. And maybe he is just trying to diffuse the situation, after which the lady understands that she also thought about it, and there is no point in running away. The lady then claims that since the guy doesn't mind, she'll be happy to spend time with him, and suggests they find a place somewhere under a tree. But then the girl also notices a picture and asks what it is, to which the guy replies that there is some food there, because he brought it her, because he thought that they could eat together. But now all the plans have gone down the drain, after which the main game does not apologize and claims that she is so hungry. And she also asks if there's anyone there she could eat with. See, she wants to tell me so much about the Duke, and if only someone would listen. The guy suggests they eat together. And the heroine says, "Of course." After which they sit down, the young lady declares she can't remember the last time she ate such delicious bread, so she thanks the boy for feeding her. The emperor replies that if she's happy, then he's happy, and the main character claims she would definitely regret going back home. But then the young lady also looks at the guy's face and claims he has something there, after which she shows him to understand where the remains of bread are on his face. But he only gets embarrassed, and then turns around and thanks the lady. He also says that her lips are so pale, after which the young lady asks if that is really true. To which the guy replies, "Well, they're kind of lifeless." The brunette also asks if he made her stay, and the young lady wonders what she should do. After all, she needs to control herself, but she also likes to watch every movement of his hands, after which the main character says that everything is fine and she is not cold. But the emperor is just approaching her. At that very moment, lightning strikes somewhere, and the main character then asks what that was. The girl also understands that he was so close that she was scared, but she already thought that their lips would touch. After which, the young lady states that the rain seems to have gotten heavier, and maybe then they will finish for today. The emperor then agrees and says that if she gets wet, she might get sick. The young lady realizes she needs to calm down. Ray already has a loved one, and she can't afford to think about such things, but it seems she's forced to admit it, that she can no longer be friends with him, after which the young lady gets up and says that she will go back first, and also apologizes and runs away. At this time, the brunette understands that since then, he cannot understand feelings. Elena, and it seems that Rainier and Maynard are really interested in her, but the guy is wondering if he can do something, and it can't be left like this. The girl returns to the estate and ponders the best course of action, as it seems the more she tries to hide her feelings, the more clumsy she becomes, and perhaps it would be better to tell the truth. Well, then the girl sees Ray in front of her and asks what he is doing there, because this is the palace where the Duke is located, and a knight in training is not allowed to enter there. The guy replies that he came because he wanted to talk to her, and the main character wonders if Ray really wants to discuss something and it's so important that he decided to come there himself. At this point, the guy says that it's actually him. But at the same moment, someone else comes up and asks who is there, because only authorized personnel are allowed there, and outsiders are not allowed in, so let them leave there right now. But then the guy is surprised because he sees the emperor in front of him. The main character thinks how terrible this is, because these two shouldn't have been dating. Hey, the girl thinks what should she do because the Duke, due to an injury he received in the past, has seizures when he sees men. Ray entered there as an apprentice knight, and without permission, which could make the Duke feel worse. The young lady then tells the gentleman not to worry, as he's a good man. The young man then asks if he's a good man, and the main character realizes the Duke seems calm, after which the girl claims that this guy is her friend, and he is a knight apprentice named Ray, after which the two exchange glances, and the emperor bows, and also says that it is his part to see Mr. Levi. He is a member of the Imperial Knights, and his name is Andre von Roman Murdoch, then asks if he is really a knight, and the main character says that he is, and asks the gentleman to listen. After all this, Knight has no manners at all, and he has a reckless character, and he also entered there without thinking about the consequences. But he does not wish evil, and the guy just smiles and says, "Okay." Ordinary knight apprentices are forbidden from entering the palace again, and since he's Elena's friend, he'll forgive her this time. The guy also says he came to deliver this, then hands her a letter and tells her to read it later. He also suggests that they find a place where they won't be seen. He doesn't mind. But what will others say? The girl then says, yes, and they'll be careful too. The Duke then runs away and says that he will go and let them chat there, where there is no one, after which the main character thanks Mr. Levi, and when he leaves, they sigh. The young lady turns to the knight and claims he acted recklessly as he was about to be driven away. He does, after all, like to scare people, after which the young man apologizes and says he wasn't thinking. Elena says that since he understood, then good, after which she asks why he came. But when the man is about to say something, they hear someone's footsteps, and the guy claims that the time is inappropriate because he showed up too suddenly. And today they say goodbye again, after which the guy puts his hand on the young woman's shoulder, then icily realizes what he did and apologizes. After which he turns around and says they'll see each other again, the main character, then wonders what's wrong with him, and the guy suddenly came and then left. So she's thinking, why does he leave disturbing her heart? A little while later, the Duke turns to his brother and asks what it was. And does his brother really know Elena? The man replies that something like Togo and Levy probably figured it out himself, but Elena thinks he's a knight apprentice. The Duke then asks his brother if he really likes Elena. The Emperor asks if it's so obvious and easy to read that even his brother noticed. The Duke is shocked and claims it's the first time he's heard anyone call him Ray. And it was the first time he'd seen him so agitated. He didn't remember his brother like this. The brunette then said that the time had come for him and his brother to talk about these topics, and he was both embarrassed and happy at the same time. The boy replies that he does too, but he asks if His Majesty knows how dangerous it is to be with Elena now. The brunette then asks what he's talking about, after which the Duke exclaims that May's brother has become close to Elena lately. And he looks at her with loving eyes. During every lesson, Rainier also frequents the palace. And at this rate, Elena will be taken from his brother. The Emperor is shocked after this and asks his brother what he should do since he's so bad at love. After which the boy replies that they'll figure everything out and claims he's had a good idea as he knows how the guy can establish contact with Elena. A little while later, the girl approaches the gentleman and claims he told her to come there after lunch, but she still asks what it is and why these two are together. The Duke asks her to calm down and claims they simply haven't had time to tell him, as Mr. Ray is actually his relative, which surprises the protagonist and asks if that's really true. And the guy replies that all aristocrats and members of the imperial family are related by blood in one way or another. So he checked and found out that they are related, and he also didn't faint because they were already acquainted. The heroine then says that's how it is, and the guy understands that it worked, but the young lady still asks why he called her then, after which the guy claims that Lord Ray will accompany her as a knight today, but the young lady insists that she needs to return very soon. After which the Duke asserts that this isn't a question of decency, since he can't allow his saint to walk alone, so with his permission, he will accompany her. The main character then looks at the guy, and he asks if she really doesn't want to go with him. The young lady replies that it is not about that, because she is probably taking up his time, after which the guy tells her not to worry about it, because it is an honor for him to fulfill his knightly duty. The Duke watching this is simply surprised, after which the two become embarrassed, and the young man suggests they hurry or they'll be late. The young man then nudges the saint, saying his hand slipped, after which the lady falls on top of the brunette, and then he grabs her and asks if the lady is okay. The main character then lifts her face, which then appears close to the Emperor's. Then she steps away and apologizes, saying she was pushed, after which she turns to the gentleman and asks what he's doing. The guy then replies, "What's he doing?" He won't interfere knowing Lord Ray is with her, and they'll see each other later. The girl then thinks why it is unpleasant today, after which she says that they are leaving and getting into the carriage. The girl understands that she needs to think less, because Ray has no intentions, and he accompanies her like a knight.